For thousands of years, humanity has left behind traces of its existence. Monuments carved from stone, relics buried deep beneath the earth, and artifacts that defy our understanding. Some of these remnants tell stories we can almost decipher, while others remain shrouded in mystery, challenging everything we think we know about history. Who built the colossal heads of the Olmecs, and how were they moved with such precision? What secrets lie hidden within the labyrinthine tunnels beneath ancient civilizations? And why do some artifacts appear impossibly advanced for their time, as if they were glimpses of a forgotten knowledge? Across deserts, jungles, and forgotten ruins, these enigmas whisper of civilizations lost, technologies unexplained, and human ingenuity that continues to baffle experts. They are the puzzles that refuse to be solved, the questions that haunt archaeologists and thrill seekers alike. So, sit back, relax, and let's dive in. Together, we'll journey into the shadows of history, exploring the bizarre, the unexplained, and the astonishing mysteries still waiting to be uncovered. Rising from the rugged, windswept hills of western Sardinia, the site of Monte Prama holds a quiet, almost eerie presence. Here, among the rolling plains that stretch toward the distant Mediterranean, lie fragments of a civilization that vanished thousands of years ago. Fragments that speak not only of artistic skill and cultural sophistication, but of something far more enigmatic. Scattered across the archaeological site are hundreds of stone statues, their forms worn by time, yet still commanding a sense of grandeur. These are the giants of Monte Prama, towering figures carved from local limestone, standing between 2 and 3 meters tall. Each figure, meticulously sculpted, carries weapons, shields, or symbols of status, hinting at a society that valued power, protection, and perhaps ritual significance. Discovered in the late 1970s, the statues have captivated archaeologists, historians, and curious minds alike. They date back to the Nuragic civilization, a Bronze Age culture that thrived in Sardinia between 1800 and 900 BCE. Yet, even with decades of research, questions remain. The giants' stylized features, the squared shoulders, elongated arms, and detailed faces, suggest a level of sophistication that seems almost advanced for their era. How were such monumental sculptures created with such precision using Bronze Age tools? And why were they buried, seemingly deliberately, under layers of earth, only to remain hidden for millennia? Mainstream interpretations offer some answers. Scholars propose that the statues represented warriors or heroes of the Nuragic people, perhaps commemorating fallen leaders or legendary figures. Their placement in the region, near ancient settlements and sacred sites, suggests they may have served as guardians or markers of territorial power. Yet the scale of the statues, the sheer number, hundreds of fragments suggest dozens of giants originally stood here, and the apparent suddenness of their burial leave room for deeper questions. Was this an act of ritual closure, a symbolic interment of an era, or something else entirely? Adding to the intrigue is the artistic style itself. The giants combine geometric abstraction with strikingly naturalistic details, a kind of duality rarely seen in Bronze Age sculpture. Their faces are almost hypnotic, eyes hollow yet expressive, as if they were intended to observe more than just the human realm. Some researchers have suggested that their creation reflects contact with distant cultures, or even a shared artistic language across the Mediterranean, hinting at exchanges and influences not yet fully understood. Could these statues be evidence of a lost network of ideas, travels, or beliefs? Or do they simply reflect the unique genius of the Nuragic artisans, whose techniques and vision have left a puzzle for us to decode? Even more puzzling are the fragments themselves. The site yields partial statues, dismembered heads, and torsos scattered across the terrain. Over time, Natural forces, human activity, and the passage of centuries have left much incomplete. Yet, when reconstructed, the figures evoke a formidable presence, suggesting that the original display was deliberately arranged to convey a sense of strength and authority. Some historians theorize that the burial of the statues may have coincided with periods of upheaval or conquest in Sardinia, an attempt to erase or protect cultural memory. Others allow for more speculative notions. Could these figures have been intended as markers of cosmic or spiritual significance? Were they guardians not just of the land, but of knowledge or power now lost to time? The mystery deepens when one considers what remains unknown about the Nuragic civilization itself. Unlike contemporaneous societies in Egypt or Mesopotamia, the Nuragic left no written records to explain their rituals, beliefs, or daily life in detail. Most of what we know comes from their stone towers, nuraghi, and scattered artifacts. The giants of Monte Prama, then, are not simply statues. They are voices from a silent past, speaking in stone and leaving us to interpret their meaning. Their deliberate design, their careful placement, and their enigmatic symbolism all invite speculation without offering certainty. Walking through the excavation site today, it is impossible not to feel a sense of awe. The wind whispers across the plains, brushing against broken fragments, while shadows of the surrounding hills fall over the weathered limestone. One can almost imagine the ancient sculptors at work, chiseling each figure with painstaking care, or the ritual gatherings that may have surrounded these colossal monuments. And yet, for all the study and analysis, the giants remain partly inscrutable, straddling the line between history and mystery. What drove the Nuragic people to create such extraordinary figures, and why were they interred beneath the earth with such care? Were these giants intended as eternal guardians, symbolic ancestors, or something altogether beyond our understanding? Perhaps they were all of these things, and perhaps they were something else entirely, lost to the mists of time. As we gaze upon the broken yet still imposing forms at Monte Prama, we are left with a question that has persisted for nearly half a century. What secrets, what stories, might still be hidden beneath the Sardinian soil, waiting for us to uncover them? From the sun-scorched sands of Egypt, near the shimmering waters of the Fayum oasis, rises a story as grand as it is elusive. Archaeologists and historians speak of it with awe, yet it remains largely unseen, cloaked in layers of time and legend. They call it the Lost Labyrinth of Egypt, a sprawling complex said to surpass even the temples of Carnac or the pyramids of Giza in size, intricacy, and mystery. For centuries, references to this vast structure have appeared in the writings of classical historians. Herodotus, the Greek chronicler, claimed that it contained thousands of rooms, half above ground, half below, filled with columns, statues, and inscriptions that recorded the history of the Egyptian pharaohs. Strabo described it as a maze-like wonder, a network of halls so complex that even the most learned scholars could lose themselves within its corridors. The exact location of the labyrinth has been debated for generations. Some point to the region near Hawara, where the pharaoh Amenemhat, the third of the 12th dynasty, is said to have commissioned the structure over 4,000 years ago. Excavations in the late 19th and early 20th centuries uncovered ruins of massive walls and foundations, hinting at the labyrinth's scale. Archaeologists discovered fragments of elaborately carved stone, reliefs depicting gods, kings, and mysterious symbols, and what may have been ceremonial chambers. Yet, despite these findings, the majority of the labyrinth appears lost, swallowed by sand, time, and possibly the shifting course of the Nile. Mainstream scholars offer plausible explanations for what the labyrinth might have been. Some suggest it was a ceremonial or administrative center, a monumental palace complex intended to display the power and divine authority of Amenemhat III. Others propose that its partially underground design served both practical and symbolic purposes, controlling access to sacred chambers while reflecting the Egyptian fascination with dualities, life and death, earth and sky, order and chaos. The architectural scale, when reconstructed from surviving foundations, suggests a level of organization and engineering that rivaled the most famous Egyptian monuments. It was, in essence, a city of stone, a hive of ritual, governance, and devotion. Yet, for all the scholarly reconstruction, questions persist. How could a structure of such magnitude simply vanish from sight, leaving only scattered ruins and tantalizing accounts? Were the labyrinth's subterranean sections destroyed by natural disasters, deliberately buried to protect its treasures, or simply eroded over millennia? Some theories propose that the labyrinth contained secret knowledge, sacred texts, or artifacts that the pharaohs wished to safeguard from both human and divine intrusion. Could it be that this monumental complex, mentioned in the writings of multiple ancient sources, holds answers about Egypt's history that remain undiscovered, or perhaps intentionally hidden? The labyrinth also captures the imagination because of its descriptions. Herodotus spoke of halls adorned with statues of hawks, crocodiles, and lions, while the ceilings were said to be carved with intricate patterns and hieroglyphs that chronicled the lineage of kings. Strabo mentioned chambers filled with mysterious inscriptions, which he claimed chronicled events from the dawn of time. Modern excavations have unearthed hints of such carvings, though erosion and human interference have left much undecipherable. Could there have been libraries of knowledge, sacred archives that rivaled the famed Library of Alexandria, now lost to history? Or were these halls primarily ceremonial, their wonders intended to impress and awe visitors and subjects alike? Adding to the intrigue are whispers of strange alignments and peculiar architectural choices. Some researchers have noted that certain passages and chambers appear aligned with the rising sun on specific solstices, hinting at a celestial or ritual significance beyond mere administration. Others suggest that the labyrinth's layout may encode symbolic or mathematical principles, reflecting the Egyptians' advanced understanding of geometry, astronomy, and perhaps even esoteric knowledge. The possibility that the lost labyrinth was more than a palace, a convergence of ritual, power, and cosmic design, fuels speculation and wonder. Despite centuries of exploration, the labyrinth has retained its aura of mystery. Excavations have revealed fragments of its past glory, but much of it remains hidden, buried under centuries of sand, flooding, and decay. Archaeologists continue to search, to piece together its original plan, yet the task is daunting. Even with modern technology, ground-penetrating radar, satellite imaging, and advanced excavation techniques, the full extent of the labyrinth eludes discovery. Its hidden corridors may still stretch beneath the desert, uncharted and untouched, holding secrets that could reshape our understanding of ancient Egyptian civilization. Walking through the remnants today, one can almost imagine the labyrinth in its prime. Vast halls echoing with the footfalls of priests and courtiers, statues silently guarding ceremonial chambers, corridors twisting in patterns that challenge even the most attentive visitor. The sheer scale of what once existed evokes a mixture of awe and unease, a reminder of human ambition, creativity, and the impermanence of even the grandest of creations. And yet, the lost labyrinth of Egypt remains only partially known, a shadow of its former grandeur. What stories did it tell? What knowledge, rituals, or treasures were contained within its walls? And why has time so thoroughly obscured its existence, leaving only fragments and legends to guide our understanding? As researchers continue to dig, measure, and interpret, the labyrinth remains a silent enigma, inviting each generation to ponder what might still lie hidden beneath the sands, waiting to be uncovered. From the arid plains of northern Iraq, near the ancient city of Nimrud, comes an artifact that has both fascinated and perplexed archaeologists for decades. Small in size, but immense in its implications, the so-called Baghdad lens is a piece of rock crystal, roughly oval in shape, no larger than a modern palm, yet its purpose remains an enigma. Discovered in the mid-19th century during excavations of the Assyrian ruins by the British archaeologist Austen Henry Layard, the lens was found among the remains of a palace dating to the reign of King Ashurnasirpal II, around 750 BCE. It rests now in the Iraq Museum in Baghdad, carefully preserved, but the questions it raises have only grown with time. At first glance, the lens seems simple, a slightly convex piece of crystal, smooth, polished, and remarkably clear. Yet even the most rudimentary examination reveals something extraordinary. Its edges are precisely shaped, and its curvature suggests that it could focus light. Some researchers have speculated that it may have been used as a magnifying tool, a primitive optical device, or even part of a more complex mechanism. The very notion that an Assyrian artisan might have crafted a functional lens over 2,700 years ago challenges conventional assumptions about ancient technology and knowledge. How could they have achieved such precision without the benefit of modern instruments? And if the lens did serve a practical purpose, what was it truly meant to accomplish? Mainstream interpretations lean toward plausible, utilitarian explanations. Some scholars suggest the lens may have been used to concentrate sunlight, perhaps for starting fires or lighting ceremonial torches. Others propose that it could have served as a magnifier, allowing artisans to work with intricate details on jewelry, inscriptions, or reliefs. In this context, the lens is an example of Assyrian ingenuity, a testament to a civilization already renowned for its architectural and artistic achievements. Yet the scarcity of comparable artifacts makes it difficult to determine whether the Baghdad lens was a commonplace tool, an experimental object, or a unique creation with symbolic or ritual significance. Adding to the intrigue is the lens's construction. Experts have noted that the crystal is remarkably free of flaws, suggesting careful selection and considerable skill in its shaping. The edges are slightly ground, and the surface polished to a clarity that enhances its optical properties. In the absence of written records describing its use, researchers are left to infer its purpose based on design alone, a method that is inherently speculative, yet compelling. Could the lens have been part of an ancient optical system, perhaps a rudimentary telescope or magnifying instrument that anticipated technologies believed to have been developed millennia later? Or was it purely decorative, a demonstration of skill and aesthetic refinement rather than functionality? Speculation has extended beyond practical applications into more enigmatic possibilities. Some theorists have suggested that the lens could have been used for astronomical observation, assisting Assyrian priests or scholars in charting the stars or tracking celestial events. Others have proposed that it played a role in ritual practices, focusing light in sacred ceremonies or symbolizing divine insight. There are even more fringe hypotheses, pointing to the lens as evidence of lost knowledge, technologies, or techniques that predate what we currently understand about ancient science. While these ideas remain controversial, they underscore the lens's enduring capacity to provoke wonder and curiosity. What further complicates the mystery is the lack of comparable artifacts from the same period. Unlike Mesopotamian cylinder seals or Assyrian reliefs, which are plentiful and well documented, optical devices of this type are exceedingly rare. Without additional examples, we are left with a singular object, a solitary testament to human ingenuity whose purpose may forever remain uncertain. This scarcity has fueled debates not only about its function, but about the level of technological sophistication achieved by the Assyrians. Could such a small, delicate object reveal a hidden dimension of ancient life? one in which artisans and scholars engaged in experimentation far beyond what survives in the historical record. Visiting the artifact in the museum today, one is struck by its simplicity and subtle beauty. Held carefully under soft lighting, the lens captures reflections and bends the light in ways that seem almost magical. It is easy to imagine the Assyrian artisan, centuries before the modern world, holding the crystal, grinding it with patience and precision, shaping it into a tool or symbol of purpose. What thoughts guided its creation? What knowledge was applied and what secrets were encoded in its form? And yet, for all the research, all the careful study, the Baghdad lens continues to defy easy explanation. We may never know whether it was primarily functional, symbolic, or both, whether it served mundane or extraordinary purposes. Its clarity, its craftsmanship, and its survival through centuries of conflict and decay stand as a testament to human skill and to the mysteries that endure when records are lost, when objects outlive the civilizations that created them. The lens invites us to wonder, what else might the Assyrians have known that has been lost to time? Were there other devices, tools, or technologies that we will never uncover? Could this small, unassuming object be a fragment of a far larger story about human innovation and curiosity? As we ponder these questions, the Baghdad lens of Nimrud remains more than an artifact. It is a window into the ingenuity of the past, a reminder that even in civilizations we think we understand, some mysteries endure, challenging our assumptions and sparking our imagination. From the arid canyons of southern Jordan, carved deep into rose-colored cliffs, emerges one of the most breathtaking cities of the ancient world, Petra. Often called the Rose City for the warm hues of its sandstone facades, Petra is a landscape of monumental tombs, grand temples, and intricately sculpted dwellings that seem to rise seamlessly from the rock itself. Entering through the narrow, winding gorge of the Sikh, visitors are gradually led into a world where human artistry and nature converge in astonishing harmony. Here, facades tower over 30 meters high, adorned with detailed columns, friezes, and symbolic motifs, their scale and precision defying easy explanation. Even today, Petra captures the imagination, not only for its beauty, but for the questions that linger about its creation. The city's origins trace back to the Nabateans, a nomadic Arab people who settled in the region around the 4th century BCE. Over centuries, they transformed a rugged canyon into a thriving hub of trade, connecting Arabia, Egypt, and the Mediterranean. Petra became a crossroads of commerce, culture, and political influence. Yet, for all that is known about its inhabitants, the methods by which the Nabateans carved entire structures from solid rock remain mysterious. How did they manage to shape cliffs with such precision, ensuring symmetry and proportion on facades that tower over the desert floor? What tools and techniques did they employ to achieve architectural feats that even today would challenge modern masons? Mainstream explanations suggest that the Nabateans combined simple tools, chisels, hammers, and wedges, with meticulous planning and deep knowledge of the rock's natural properties. Their craftsmanship certainly demonstrates an understanding of geology, structural engineering, and aesthetic balance. Scholars point to the likely use of scaffolding and the sequential carving of facades and interiors as practical strategies that allowed such monumental work. Still, when one steps back and observes the city as a whole, the questions deepen. The sheer scale of the construction, the precision of angles, and the harmonious integration with the surrounding landscape hint at a level of planning and skill that feels almost extraordinary for a civilization primarily known as traders rather than builders. Adding to the intrigue are Petra's advanced water systems. Hidden channels, cisterns, and reservoirs ensured the city's survival in an unforgiving desert. Water was diverted and stored with astonishing efficiency, allowing the Nabateans to cultivate gardens and support a large population. Some researchers speculate that these hydraulic innovations may have been linked to the city's architectural layout, suggesting that Petra's construction was guided not only by aesthetic and symbolic considerations, but also by sophisticated knowledge of engineering and environmental control. Could this integration of natural resources, urban planning, and monumental architecture indicate that the Nabateans possessed technical insights that remain underappreciated today? Further mysteries emerge when considering Petra's symbolic and cultural significance. Many of the facades appear to reflect not only functional or decorative intentions, but also ritual and cosmological symbolism. Tombs and temples often mirror celestial alignments or sacred geometry, suggesting that the city's design was influenced by religious or philosophical principles. Was Petra constructed as a purely practical city, or was it a ceremonial landscape, intended to convey messages of power, spirituality, or cosmic order to those who entered its hidden passages? Could the layout itself, its narrow gorges, expansive courtyards, and towering monuments, have been meant to inspire awe, control movement, or even encode knowledge for initiates of the Nabatean culture? Some theories stretch even further, exploring possibilities that border on the enigmatic. Certain researchers have pointed to the uniformity and durability of the rock-carved facades as evidence of techniques lost to time. Could the Nabateans have employed methods of quarrying, carving, or finishing that we have yet to fully understand? Others suggest that trade connections with distant civilizations may have introduced advanced knowledge, influencing both design and construction techniques. Yet, without written records detailing the engineering or construction processes, the answers remain tantalizingly out of reach. Walking through Petra today, the sense of wonder is immediate. The play of sunlight across the pink stone, the shadows cast by towering columns, the echoes of footsteps through silent corridors, each element reinforces the feeling of a city that was simultaneously functional, ceremonial, and awe-inspiring. It is impossible not to imagine the laborers, engineers, and artisans working over decades to bring this vision to life, yet leaving no written manual of their methods. The more one observes, the more the mystery deepens. Petra is at once a city and a question, a marvel of human skill whose full story may never be revealed. Even as modern archaeologists continue to uncover new sections and study the remnants of ancient life, Petra maintains its enigmatic aura. Every discovery, be it a carved urn, an inscription, or the remains of a hydraulic channel, raises further questions about the city's construction, its purpose, and the knowledge of those who built it. How did the Nabateans achieve such harmony with the natural landscape? What drove them to carve so extensively into rock that others would struggle to replicate even today? And might there be techniques, tools, or insights buried with the city itself, hidden beneath layers of sediment and history, waiting for a future generation to uncover? As we pause among the rose-red cliffs, gazing up at monumental facades that have endured millennia of wind, sand, and time, Petra invites contemplation. It reminds us that even the most enduring human achievements carry secrets, that civilization's brilliance can coexist with enduring enigmas, and that some mysteries, no matter how close we come to understanding them, remain unresolved, silent witnesses to ingenuity, perseverance, and the unknown. From the wind-swept plains of Brittany, France, stretches one of the most enigmatic landscapes of prehistoric Europe, the megalithic alignments of Carnac. Hundreds, perhaps thousands, of massive stones rise from the earth in long, precise rows, some stretching over 4 kilometers in length. The stones vary in height, from small boulders barely taller than a man to towering monoliths over 6 meters high, each carefully shaped and placed with remarkable consistency. Standing among them, one cannot help but feel a sense of awe, and a deep, unshakable mystery. The sheer scale of the arrangement, combined with the meticulous placement of each stone, has captivated archaeologists, historians, and curious travelers for centuries. The origins of the Carnac stones date back to the Neolithic period, around 4,500 to 3,300 BCE. Yet, despite extensive study, their purpose remains largely speculative. Mainstream archaeology suggests that they may have served as ritual sites, markers of territorial boundaries, or even astronomical observatories. Some of the rows appear aligned with the rising or setting sun at particular times of the year, hinting at sophisticated knowledge of celestial cycles. Others suggest that the stones formed pathways or ceremonial avenues, guiding processions of people through sacred or communal spaces. Still, when one contemplates the effort required to move, shape, and erect these massive stones without the aid of modern machinery, the questions multiply. How did a Neolithic society transport these megaliths, some weighing tens of tons, across uneven terrain? And what motivated such labor-intensive precision, sustained over centuries? The landscape itself seems to amplify the mystery. The stones are organized in seemingly deliberate patterns, long parallel rows, scattered dolmens, and isolated menhirs. Some researchers have proposed that the alignment of the stones reflects symbolic or cosmological principles, encoding knowledge of the heavens or mapping the landscape in ways we do not yet fully understand. Could the placement of each stone have represented a star, a seasonal marker, or even a calendar for agricultural cycles? Or did the arrangement carry spiritual significance, guiding rituals and connecting communities to forces beyond the visible world? Adding to the intrigue is the scale and uniformity of the stones themselves. Many of the monoliths were shaped with great care, their surfaces smoothed and their edges deliberately squared or rounded. In some cases, carvings or cup marks are visible, small depressions whose purpose remains debated. Were these markings symbolic, ritualistic, or functional? And how did Neolithic societies, with seemingly limited technological resources, achieve such consistency across hundreds of stones over vast distances? Some scholars suggest that sophisticated planning and communal effort would have been essential, requiring not only engineering skill but also social organization and shared cultural purpose. Speculation has long extended beyond practical considerations. Over the centuries, numerous theories have emerged, some more extraordinary than others. Local folklore speaks of the stones as petrified soldiers, punished by divine forces, or as markers left by giants. Other researchers propose that the alignments may encode lost knowledge, serving as a prehistoric astronomical observatory or a map of energy lines across the landscape, sometimes called ley lines. While these ideas remain outside the mainstream, they underscore the profound fascination the Carnac stones continue to inspire. There is a sense that the builders, though long gone, left a message or a ritual imprint on the land, one that challenges modern understanding and invites interpretation. Modern archaeological work has uncovered additional mysteries. Buried beneath some of the stones are traces of earlier structures, burial sites, or artifacts suggesting that the location was of central importance for successive generations. Radiocarbon dating indicates that the site was used over centuries, possibly evolving in meaning and function. Yet, despite decades of study, no written records or inscriptions have survived that explain why the Carnac alignments were created or what ceremonies, if any, took place there. Each new excavation raises more questions than answers, reinforcing the sense that Carnac is not merely a historical site, but a riddle frozen in stone. Walking among the stones today, one can sense the weight of millennia pressing from the ground up. The wind whispers across the rows, carrying the echoes of countless generations who may have walked these avenues, observed the sky, or performed rituals in the shadow of these monoliths. Standing beside a particularly tall menhir, one can almost imagine the laborers of the Neolithic era, working tirelessly with ropes, sledges, and sheer determination to place each stone in its intended position. What drove them to commit such monumental effort? Was it devotion, social cohesion, reverence for the natural world, or something more profound that has been lost to time? Even as researchers continue to study Carnac with modern tools, surveying the alignments with lasers, mapping their positions with GPS, and analyzing their relation to astronomical phenomena, the stones retain an aura of impenetrable mystery. Their purpose, their symbolism, and the full extent of the knowledge embedded in their arrangement remain uncertain. Did the builders encode information we have yet to understand? Or were the stones intended to inspire awe, to mark sacred spaces, and to forge a connection between people and the unseen forces of their world? The Carnac megaliths, in all their grandeur and precision, serve as a timeless reminder of the ingenuity, dedication, and imagination of prehistoric societies. They are silent yet commanding, visible yet cryptic, monumental yet intimate in their connection to the land. As we walk among these stones, tracing the lines and paths created thousands of years ago, we are confronted with the enduring enigma: what truly motivated the builders, and what knowledge, rituals, or messages might remain hidden, buried, or forgotten beneath the Breton soil. The mystery of Carnac endures, inviting each observer to wonder, to speculate, and to marvel at the ingenuity of our distant ancestors. In the hushed corridors of the British Museum, a clay tablet rests under the careful watch of historians and conservators, its surface etched with lines, shapes, and cuneiform script that date back nearly 2,500 years. This is the Babylonian Map of the world, an artifact that seems modest in size, barely the width of a modern hand, yet immense in the questions it poses. Crafted in the Neo-Babylonian period, around the 6th century BCE, the tablet presents what appears to be a visual representation of the known world, a cosmography encoded in clay. Its discovery in Sippar, an ancient city south of modern Baghdad, unveiled a civilization that not only recorded history in words, but sought to capture the very shape and order of the earth itself. At first glance, the map is striking for its simplicity. The central feature is a roughly circular landmass, inscribed with Babylon at its heart. Surrounding it are other regions, labeled in cuneiform, with lines extending outward into the unknown, beyond which lie bitter rivers and distant islands. Scholars have noted that the map is not geographical in the modern sense. It is symbolic, reflecting how the Babylonians perceived their world. It situates their city as the focal point of creation and civilization, illustrating not only physical space but cultural and cosmological significance. And yet, for all its apparent clarity, the map raises profound mysteries. Why did the Babylonians depict the world in this particular arrangement? What knowledge or beliefs guided the selection and placement of the regions and rivers? Mainstream interpretations suggest that the map served both practical and symbolic purposes. It may have been used to record political territories, trade routes, or mythological beliefs, combining observation with imagination. The inclusion of regions labeled as remote or beyond the known indicates that the Babylonians recognized the limits of their experience while attempting to chart a complete worldview. It is a rare convergence of empirical observation and spiritual or cultural interpretation, a glimpse into how one of history's earliest civilizations understood the world around them. Yet the map contains features that invite further inquiry. Some of the outlying islands and circular features are described as mysterious, unreachable lands, often associated with mythological creatures or natural phenomena. Could these represent lost knowledge, forgotten places, or symbolic representations of forces beyond human control? And why does the map combine careful geographic depiction with clearly fantastical elements, suggesting a worldview that embraced both empirical observation and allegorical meaning? The juxtaposition challenges modern notions of mapping and cartography, prompting us to reconsider how ancient peoples conceptualized space and place. The artistry of the tablet also demands attention. Each line was carefully incised into wet clay, and each label meticulously inscribed in cuneiform, a script that itself requires training and precision. The creation of such a map was no casual endeavor. It suggests the existence of scholars or scribes whose role extended beyond record-keeping into interpretation, synthesis, and representation of complex ideas. How did these individuals determine what to include and what to leave out? Were their choices purely practical, or did they encode religious, philosophical, or even astronomical principles into the tablet? Some researchers note that the circular layout and peripheral features may reflect cosmological concepts, linking the Earth to the heavens and situating human civilization within a broader, ordered universe. Speculative theories have long swirled around the Babylonian map. Some historians suggest that it might contain clues about ancient trade, migrations, or forgotten territories. Others propose that the map represents a hybrid of observation and myth, merging the familiar with the unknown in a way that is both practical and deeply symbolic. A few more fringe ideas posit that the map encodes advanced geographical knowledge, perhaps even predating later Greek conceptions of the world, though these claims remain contentious. What is clear, however, is that the map reflects a worldview that is sophisticated, layered, and enigmatic, hinting at an understanding of space, culture, and the cosmos that continues to challenge modern perspectives. Standing before a reproduction of the tablet, one is struck by the interplay of precision and imagination. The central city, Babylon, anchors the map, while the surrounding lands extend outward, both familiar and mysterious. It is a snapshot of human curiosity, an attempt to grasp not only the tangible world but also the abstract and unknown. The tablet invites us to consider how the Babylonians viewed themselves within the universe, as observers, recorders, and interpreters of both reality and myth. Despite centuries of scholarship, the Babylonian map of the world remains, in many ways, an enigma. Its purpose, its full scope, and the reasoning behind its unique design are still debated. Was it intended primarily as a tool, a cosmological guide, or a symbolic statement of power and knowledge? Could the map contain insights into territories now lost to history, or into cultural and religious practices that are no longer understood? And most intriguingly, what does it reveal about how ancient civilizations conceptualized the relationship between human society and the wider world? The tablet endures as a silent testament to human curiosity, ambition, and imagination. Though small and fragile, it opens a window into a civilization that sought to understand the cosmos, to situate itself within it, and to preserve that understanding for posterity. As we study its lines and inscriptions, we are left with a profound question. How much knowledge, how many stories, and how much of the world itself remains hidden, waiting for someone to decipher it? The Babylonian map of the world is more than an artifact. It is an invitation to wonder, a reminder that even the simplest object can contain mysteries that endure across millennia. Deep within the humid lowlands of Veracruz and Tabasco, Mexico, stand some of the most enigmatic monuments of ancient Mesoamerica, the Olmec Colossal Heads. These towering stone sculptures, carved from single basalt boulders transported over vast distances, are imposing in both scale and presence. Some measure over 3 meters in height and weigh several tons, their rounded forms and intricate facial features commanding attention and inspiring awe. Walking among them today, one is struck not only by their artistry, but by the mystery that surrounds their creation, their purpose, and the people who carved them. The Olmecs, often called the mother culture of Mesoamerica, flourished between roughly 1400 and 400 BCE. They left behind no written records in the traditional sense, relying instead on monumental art, ceremonial centers, and ritual objects to convey meaning. The colossal heads are among their most striking achievements, each one unique, yet collectively forming a visual language that continues to intrigue scholars. The faces are expressive, individualized, and detailed, prominent cheekbones, fleshy lips, and headgear or helmets that suggest social status, rank, or possibly athletic or military associations. Yet, despite centuries of study, we are left to interpret their significance through inference and analogy, relying on archaeology, anthropology, and a careful reading of cultural context. One of the enduring mysteries lies in the sheer logistics of their creation. The basalt used to carve these heads often originated from distant volcanic highlands, sometimes more than 80 kilometers away from the sites where the sculptures now rest. How did the Olmecs transport these massive stones across rivers, forests, and uneven terrain without the wheel or draft animals? Scholars have proposed methods involving rafts, rollers, or sledges, yet none fully capture the scale of organization, labor, and ingenuity required. What motivated such immense effort? Was it devotion to leaders, ceremonial purpose, or some other social or religious function that remains obscured by time? Mainstream interpretations suggest that the heads represent rulers or prominent individuals, immortalized in stone to signify authority and continuity. Many are placed near ceremonial centers, plazas, or mounds, implying a role in public life and ritual performance. The helmets or headdresses adorning the figures have been interpreted as protective gear, possibly linked to Mesoamerican ball games, martial symbolism, or sacred costume. Yet, even as we analyze these elements, questions linger. Why do the heads vary so significantly in size, expression, and style? Were they made sequentially, over generations, or were they intended to be displayed together as a cohesive ensemble that conveyed a broader cultural message? The artistry of the Olmec heads also invites speculation about technological knowledge and aesthetic sensibility. The precision of facial features, the proportion of the forms, and the attention to detail in headgear suggest sophisticated planning and understanding of human anatomy, proportion, and stoneworking techniques. Did the Olmecs employ tools, templates, or techniques now lost to history? Could their methods reveal a level of craftsmanship and technical skill that rivals later civilizations? The absence of detailed records makes these questions tantalizing, leaving the heads to speak silently yet powerfully across centuries. Beyond their craftsmanship, the colossal heads also provoke broader mysteries about the Olmec civilization itself. Who were these rulers, leaders, or figures immortalized in basalt? What rituals, ceremonies, or social systems surrounded their creation and display? Some researchers have proposed that the heads may have had cosmological or symbolic significance, representing intermediaries between the mortal world and the divine, or embodying ancestral power that ensured societal cohesion. Others speculate about connections to long-distance trade, influence, or cultural exchange across Mesoamerica, given the Olmecs' far-reaching networks and the sophistication evident in their art and urban planning. Some fringe theories extend even further, pondering the possibility that the Olmec heads reflect a lost knowledge or even contact with distant cultures. While these ideas remain highly speculative, they illustrate the fascination and imagination that these statues continue to inspire. The heads are not simply monuments. They are repositories of cultural memory, markers of identity, and enduring puzzles that challenge our understanding of ancient societies. Standing before a colossal head today, the impact is immediate. The stone, weathered by centuries of wind, rain, and human presence, conveys a sense of permanence and authority. Its gaze, though silent, seems to communicate intention, identity, and a presence that transcends time. One can almost imagine the Olmec artisans, carefully selecting stone, sculpting faces with chisels and stone tools, and orchestrating the immense labor required to transport and erect these figures. What drove them to undertake such monumental tasks, and what did they hope to convey to those who came after? Despite decades of study, the Olmec colossal heads retain an aura of mystery. Their purpose, the methods used to create and transport them, and the full scope of their cultural significance remain unresolved. Do they commemorate rulers, serve as spiritual intermediaries, or encode knowledge we have yet to uncover? Could they be part of a larger, symbolic system of art and architecture now lost beneath the jungle and centuries of erosion? The Olmec heads endure as both a testament to human ingenuity and a reminder of the limits of our understanding. They invite contemplation, inspire curiosity, and provoke questions that have persisted for millennia. As we gaze upon these monumental sculptures, we are left with a profound realization. Even in civilizations long gone, some mysteries endure, quietly challenging us to wonder, to investigate, and to imagine what else may still lie hidden, waiting to be discovered. In the quiet halls of the Voynich Rare Book and Manuscript Library at Yale University lies a book unlike any other. Bound in worn vellum pages and encased in careful preservation, the Voynich Manuscript is a manuscript that has defied understanding for over 6 centuries. Its origins are shrouded in uncertainty. Radiocarbon dating places the parchment between 1404 and 1438, yet its author remains unknown, and its purpose is even more mysterious. Opening the manuscript is like stepping into an alien world, pages filled with flowing script, botanical illustrations, astronomical diagrams, and enigmatic figures, none of which correspond to any known language, culture, or scientific system. The Voynich manuscript is, at first glance, bewildering in its complexity. The writing, composed of an unknown alphabet, forms words and sentences that appear internally consistent, yet resist translation. Linguists, cryptographers, and historians have attempted to decipher it for decades, employing every method from statistical analysis to computer algorithms. Yet no universally accepted solution has emerged. How could a text appear so structured and coherent, yet remain impenetrable to centuries of scholarship? What knowledge, encoded in this strange hand, lies just beyond our comprehension? Mainstream research offers some plausible interpretations. Some scholars suggest the manuscript may be a sophisticated herbal or medical guide, perhaps detailing plants, remedies, and processes now lost to history. The botanical illustrations, while often unidentifiable by modern standards, suggest an interest in medicinal or alchemical practices, consistent with the period in which it was created. Astronomical diagrams hint at calendrical or cosmological observations, perhaps linking human life to celestial cycles. And yet, despite these parallels, the book refuses to yield its secrets fully. The plants often defy classification. The figures sometimes seem fantastical, and the text stubbornly resists correlation with any known language. Adding to the intrigue are the manuscript's illustrations of human figures and strange constructions. Naked, often female figures emerge from tubes or pools of liquid, suggesting ritual, alchemy, or symbolic representation of life, health, or transformation. Some pages contain elaborate circular diagrams, reminiscent of astronomical charts, yet their meaning remains opaque. Could these images encode secret knowledge, lost medical techniques, or esoteric beliefs? Were they intended as literal depictions, symbolic metaphors, or a form of mnemonic device for the author? The manuscript seems to operate on multiple levels, both visual and textual, demanding interpretation that transcends ordinary reading. Speculation about its origin and purpose has inspired more extraordinary hypotheses. Some propose that the manuscript is a cipher, a coded text meant to conceal information from all but a select few. Others suggest it could be an early experiment in constructed language, or even a hoax, though statistical analysis of the text indicates patterns consistent with linguistic structure rather than random fabrication. A few fringe theories posit lost civilizations, arcane knowledge, or even contact with unknown traditions, yet these remain speculative. What is undeniable is that the Voynich Manuscript challenges our understanding of language, communication, and the limits of human knowledge. The creation of the manuscript itself is also remarkable. Each page is meticulously illustrated, the ink applied with care, and the text flows consistently across hundreds of folios. Whoever produced this book possessed not only artistic skill, but patience, precision, and an extraordinary capacity for detailed work. Could it have been a single mind over decades, or a collaborative effort among multiple scholars or scribes? And if its content was practical or secretive, why has no corroborating evidence, texts, references, or records survived to explain it? Modern technology has provided tantalizing insights, yet no answers. Spectroscopic analysis has confirmed the medieval origin of the materials. Computer algorithms have revealed patterns in the text suggestive of grammatical rules or repetitive structures, yet the meaning remains elusive. It is as if the manuscript exists in a parallel intellectual world, governed by principles we do not yet understand, and preserved with extraordinary care across centuries of upheaval and change. Holding the Voynich Manuscript, or even viewing it in digital form, is a confrontation with human curiosity and mystery. The elaborate diagrams, the flowing alien script, and the intricate illustrations provoke questions that remain unanswered. Was this a practical manual for medicine, botany, or astrology? Was it a coded treatise of secret knowledge meant for a select few? Or is it a work of imagination, a symbolic exploration of ideas lost to time? The manuscript occupies a space between the known and the unknowable, where human ingenuity meets enduring enigma. Despite the many attempts to decode it, the Voynich Manuscript continues to guard its secrets. Each reading, each analysis, only deepens the sense of wonder. Its unknown language, its unidentifiable flora and fauna, its cryptic diagrams, everything about it invites speculation, reflection, and imagination. Perhaps it was always meant to be a puzzle, a document that tests the limits of understanding and invites contemplation of what human knowledge can and cannot achieve. And so, the Voynich Manuscript remains an enduring riddle, a testament to curiosity and the persistence of mystery. What ideas, practices, or knowledge were once contained within its pages? And what else might humanity have once known, only to lose it to time? As we continue to study, to analyze, and to wonder, the manuscript stands silent yet eloquent, reminding us that some mysteries are meant to provoke questions, and that the search for understanding is itself a journey without end. High in the arid cliffs on the west bank of the Nile, opposite the ancient city of Luxor, lies a landscape carved by both nature and human ambition, the Valley of the Kings. Here, over 3 millennia ago, Egypt's most powerful rulers and their elites were laid to rest in elaborate tombs designed to safeguard them in the afterlife. Visitors today walk along narrow, sun-baked paths that wind between jagged cliffs, passing entrances to tombs adorned with faded hieroglyphs and intricate reliefs. Yet, for all its documented tombs and spectacular discoveries, including the legendary tomb of Tutankhamun, the valley harbors mysteries still concealed beneath its sands and rock. Among the most tantalizing are the hidden chambers whose existence has been hinted at through ground-penetrating radar, architectural anomalies, and subtle inconsistencies in the construction of known tombs. The Valley of the Kings was used primarily during the New Kingdom, roughly between 1550 and 1070 BCE. Its tombs were intended not only to house the deceased, but to protect their remains and treasures from tomb robbers, a threat that proved persistent even in antiquity. Despite centuries of excavation, scholars continue to uncover traces of chambers yet unentered. In some cases, seismic scans and radar imaging have revealed voids behind walls or beneath floors that do not correspond to any documented tomb. These anomalies raise profound questions. Are these hidden rooms unfinished burial sites, storage chambers, secret ritual spaces, or perhaps tombs that belong to rulers whose identities have been lost to history? Mainstream Egyptology provides cautious explanations. Tomb construction was complex, involving multiple stages and labor forces over years or decades. Some hidden spaces may have been abandoned, sealed, or intentionally concealed to thwart looters. In other instances, additional chambers could have been reserved for family members, ritual equipment, or symbolic purposes, never meant for public display. Yet, while plausible, these explanations cannot fully account for the precision and scale of the detected voids. Some scans suggest corridors and chambers so well engineered that they hint at careful planning rather than random construction or decay. Could these chambers hold treasures still undisturbed, or perhaps writings and artifacts that would challenge our understanding of New Kingdom Egypt? Further intrigue comes from the enigmatic accounts of explorers and archaeologists over the past century. Early excavations reported walls that seemed misaligned or blocked off with false doors, spaces where measurements did not match existing plans. In recent decades, modern technology, ranging from muon radiography to 3D mapping, has allowed researchers to probe deeper into the cliffs, revealing unexpected cavities. Some of these voids are situated behind prominent tomb facades, suggesting the possibility of hidden passages intentionally concealed within the rock. If these spaces were deliberately hidden, for what purpose? Protection of sacred texts, secret burial chambers, or perhaps symbolic representations of the underworld itself? Speculative theories abound. Some suggest that unknown chambers could hold the burial of Nefertiti, whose final resting place remains unconfirmed, or even other pharaohs thought lost to history. Others propose that these hidden rooms might contain caches of sacred artifacts or scrolls detailing rituals, magical practices, or political histories that have never been recorded elsewhere. More fringe hypotheses hint at mysterious contents, untouched treasures, evidence of advanced engineering techniques, or even clues to broader cosmological or spiritual practices of the ancient Egyptians. While such ideas remain speculative, they reflect the enduring fascination and unresolved nature of the valley's subterranean secrets. Walking through the valley today, it is easy to sense the magnitude of human ambition, intertwined with the mysteries of the unseen. The walls of the known tombs are covered with colorful depictions of deities, funerary rituals, and journeys through the afterlife, reminding visitors of the Egyptians' obsession with immortality and the careful orchestration of death. Yet, beyond these visible records lies a realm still hidden, silent, and uncharted, waiting for discoveries that may redefine our understanding of ancient funerary practices. The voids suggested by modern scans evoke both anticipation and caution, a reminder that beneath even the most studied landscape, secrets endure. The Valley of the Kings, with its known tombs and enigmatic voids, illustrates a profound tension between discovery and mystery. For every chamber fully explored, there seems to be another shrouded in sand and stone, leaving researchers to piece together the past with fragments, echoes, and hints. The interplay between human ambition, spiritual belief, and the natural environment has created a labyrinth of both visible and hidden spaces. How many chambers remain undisturbed, holding objects or inscriptions that could illuminate forgotten aspects of New Kingdom culture? Could we uncover tombs of rulers or priestly elites that history has long omitted? Even with modern archaeological methods, the valley continues to challenge assumptions. Ground-penetrating radar, muon detectors, and careful excavation offer glimpses, yet each discovery only deepens the sense of wonder and unanswered questions. The presence of potential hidden chambers reminds us that history is never complete and that human knowledge is always provisional, constrained by the limitations of both technology and circumstance. As we stand in the dry, sun-baked canyon, gazing at tomb entrances carved into cliffs, we are confronted with a silent enigma. Beneath the layers of rock and sand, the Valley of the Kings may still conceal chambers unknown to human eyes. What treasures, texts, or artifacts lie behind these hidden walls? What knowledge, ritual, or history has remained sealed for thousands of years? The mystery endures, compelling both curiosity and reverence, and reminding us that even in the most extensively studied archaeological sites, some secrets remain stubbornly beyond our reach, waiting, perhaps, for the right moment and the right observer to reveal them. Rising from the highlands of central Mexico, shrouded in the mists of morning and the lingering heat of midday sun, the Pyramid of the Sun dominates the ancient city of Teotihuacan. Its massive stepped form stretches nearly 220 meters along its base, and it towers more than 65 meters into the sky, dwarfing the human figure below. From a distance, it appears almost alive, a silent sentinel watching over the Avenue of the Dead, the grand thoroughfare that bisects the city and connects the pyramid to other monumental structures. Walking among its terraces, one cannot help but feel the magnitude of both its physical presence and the enigma it embodies, an architectural marvel whose origins, purpose, and construction remain partially concealed by time. Teotihuacan reached its zenith between 100 BCE and 550 CE, long before the Aztecs arrived to venerate the site as sacred. Yet despite its historical prominence, we know remarkably little about the people who built the Pyramid of the Sun. Archaeologists agree that it was a center of ritual activity, likely dedicated to a deity associated with creation, fertility, or the cosmos. However, no written records survive to explain exactly why the pyramid was constructed, how it was used, or who oversaw its ambitious building program. Its scale suggests a society capable of remarkable organization, labor management, and architectural knowledge, but the details remain frustratingly elusive. The construction itself raises questions that continue to intrigue scholars. The pyramid was built in successive layers, using millions of cubic meters of stone, adobe bricks, and volcanic rock, forming terraces that create both stability and grandeur. Yet, the tools and techniques used by the builders remain speculative. How did they transport massive stones, some weighing several tons, across the flat plain and elevate them with such precision? How was the structure aligned so accurately with astronomical phenomena, including the position of the sun on specific dates, which suggests advanced observational knowledge? Mainstream interpretations propose a combination of ramps, levers, and sheer manpower. But even so, the achievement reflects a level of coordination and planning that inspires awe. Beyond construction, the pyramid's purpose continues to provoke speculation. Excavations beneath the surface have revealed a network of tunnels, chambers, and caves that were previously unknown. These subterranean spaces, partially filled with artifacts, ceramic offerings, and remnants of ritual activity, hint at practices that may have been central to the pyramid's function. Some archaeologists suggest that the underground chambers symbolize the underworld, a sacred realm associated with birth, death, and rebirth, a theme echoed in Mesoamerican cosmology. Yet the exact relationship between these hidden spaces and the visible pyramid above remains unclear. Could these tunnels represent a map of spiritual journeys? Or perhaps they were practical spaces for priests, ritual practitioners, or the storage of sacred objects. Adding further intrigue are the pyramid's precise astronomical alignments. The structure is carefully oriented in relation to the cardinal points, and its position may correspond to key solar events such as solstices and equinoxes. Some researchers speculate that these alignments allowed the pyramid to function as a giant calendar, guiding agricultural, ceremonial, and societal cycles. Could the builders of Teotihuacan have encoded celestial knowledge into the very layout of the city, integrating the Pyramid of the Sun as a focal point for understanding the cosmos? And if so, what does that reveal about the technological and observational sophistication of this civilization, whose written records are all but lost? Speculative theories have long circulated about the pyramid's hidden dimensions. Some propose that the tunnels and chambers may conceal artifacts or information yet to be discovered, treasures, sacred relics, or clues about the city's enigmatic rulers. Others suggest that the pyramid may have been intentionally designed to evoke sacred geometry, aligning with principles that governed spiritual and cosmological thought. More fringe ideas even posit that its construction reflects knowledge lost to later generations, or that it embodies connections between earth, sky, and ritual practice that we can barely comprehend today. Walking along the terraces, feeling the heat of volcanic stone underfoot, one senses the duality of the Pyramid of the Sun. It is both monumental and intimate, a structure of immense scale that also invites personal reflection. The climb itself, demanding yet deliberate, mirrors the symbolic ascent that may have been central to its function. What did participants experience as they moved toward the summit, gazing across the sprawling city below? Was the pyramid primarily a site of public ceremony, private ritual, or perhaps both? The absence of explicit records leaves these questions open, allowing the monument to speak through presence rather than words. The Pyramid of the Sun also invites contemplation of its place within the larger urban landscape. Teotihuacan was a city of tens of thousands, with residential compounds, marketplaces, and ceremonial precincts arranged along a carefully planned grid. The pyramid, along with the Pyramid of the Moon and the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, dominates this space, suggesting that architecture and ritual were inseparable. Yet, as much as we can analyze, much remains hidden, buried beneath layers of earth, time, and the deliberate concealment of the builders themselves. Even after decades of archaeological exploration, the pyramid retains its aura of mystery. Each new excavation, each subterranean chamber uncovered, only deepens our fascination and our questions. What secrets remain hidden beneath its terraces? What knowledge, religious practice, or technological achievement was encoded into its design? And, most profoundly, what does the Pyramid of the Sun reveal about a civilization that could conceive of such grand monuments without leaving behind the explicit explanations we crave? Standing before it today, under the highland sky, one feels the weight of millennia pressing down from the stone terraces. The Pyramid of the Sun is a testament to human ambition, ingenuity, and spiritual aspiration. Yet it is also a reminder of the mysteries that endure. Its enormity, its precision, and its hidden depths invite us to wonder, how much more remains concealed, waiting for future generations to uncover? And what might we learn about the builders of Teotihuacan if we could read their intentions written not in words but in stone? Perched atop a wind-swept plateau in Adams County, Ohio, the great Serpent Mound stretches sinuously across the landscape, a colossal effigy visible from miles away. From its raised head to the coiled tail that twists and spirals, the earthwork forms the unmistakable shape of a serpent, nearly 400 meters in length. On bright days, the sun casts long shadows across its ridges, accentuating the undulating curves of the mound, while at twilight, the serpent seems almost alive, its contours blending with the rolling hills and open sky. Standing near its head, one is struck not only by the scale of the work, but by the mystery embedded in the very earth, an enigma crafted by hands long vanished, yet still palpable in its power and presence, archaeologists generally date the mound to the late prehistoric period, somewhere between 1000 BCE and 500 CE, though debates persist regarding its precise origins. Some evidence points to the Adena culture as the initial builders, while other findings suggest later modifications by the Fort Ancient peoples. Despite this, the purpose and meaning of the mound remain elusive. Unlike typical burial mounds or ceremonial earthworks, the Serpent Mound is a detailed effigy, representing an animal that has held symbolic significance across cultures. The serpent as a symbol of fertility, rebirth, danger, or spiritual power. Yet, no records exist to explain why these ancient builders chose this form, why its coils turn in specific directions, or why it occupies this particular site. Mainstream interpretations suggest that the mound may have served an astronomical function. Its head aligns roughly with the summer solstice sunset, and some researchers note that other points along the body correspond with lunar or solar events. Could the serpent have been a celestial calendar, a guide for agricultural cycles, or a spiritual representation of cosmic order? If so, the builders demonstrated an impressive understanding of astronomical patterns, translating abstract observation into monumental form. Yet these theories leave room for uncertainty. Why choose a serpent as the representation of celestial knowledge? And why encode it in earth rather than stone, for all to see yet easily altered over time? Beyond potential astronomical significance, the mound's form and orientation invite reflection on cultural and symbolic meaning. Serpents appear in myths and spiritual systems around the world, often representing cycles, renewal, or the connection between the earth and the heavens. Could the Great Serpent Mound have served as a conduit between the physical and spiritual worlds, a ceremonial site where rituals connected participants to unseen forces? Or was it intended as a territorial marker, a display of cultural identity and power for neighboring communities? Its position on a prominent plateau overlooking the surrounding terrain suggests deliberate placement, yet the precise reasoning behind its location remains unknown. Adding to the enigma is the remarkable precision with which the mound was constructed, made entirely from earth and carefully shaped to maintain its serpentine curves over hundreds of meters. The Serpent Mound required substantial planning, labor, and understanding of topography. Did the builders use simple tools to achieve such accuracy, or were their surveying techniques lost to history? And how was this monumental project coordinated across generations, given the social organization needed to mobilize and sustain such an effort? Each question emphasizes the ingenuity of a culture whose details we have yet to fully recover. Speculative theories have expanded over the years, reflecting both the intrigue of the mound and the gaps in our understanding. Some suggest the serpent represents a thunderbird, a cosmic dragon, or a symbolic embodiment of water and fertility, linking natural cycles with human activity. Others posit that the coils encode mathematical or astronomical information, forming a prehistoric map of celestial events. A few even suggest that the mound may be aligned with energy lines in the landscape, though such ideas remain controversial. What unifying principle, if any, guided the construction of the mound? Was it a blend of astronomy, spirituality, and social symbolism, or does it conceal messages or knowledge now lost to time? The Great Serpent Mound also prompts contemplation of its context within the broader landscape. Surrounding the effigy are other mounds, earthworks, and burial sites, indicating that the area was a complex cultural and ceremonial hub. How did the builders integrate the serpent into this wider network of ritual and habitation? And what significance did the serpent hold in relation to other earthworks and structures in the region, some of which predate or postdate its construction? The answers are obscured by time, leaving only traces for archaeologists to interpret, and inviting modern observers to connect dots across a vanished cultural world. Standing atop the mound, the undulating coils beneath your feet, The serpent seems at once animate and eternal. Its curves echo the rhythm of the natural world, the hills, the sky, and the cycles of sun and moon. One can imagine ancient peoples walking along its length, performing ceremonies, offering prayers, or observing celestial phenomena, their lives entwined with the symbolism of the serpent. Yet the voices of those builders are silent, leaving us to ponder their intentions and marvel at the sophistication of their vision. Even with centuries of research, the great serpent mound retains its aura of mystery. Its origin, its purpose, and its deeper meaning continue to elude definitive explanation. Does it preserve knowledge of celestial events, encode spiritual or ritual wisdom, or commemorate a story long forgotten? Perhaps it accomplishes all of these simultaneously, or perhaps its full significance was intentionally secret, meant only for those who understood the knowledge embedded within its form. The mound endures as both a cultural monument and an unresolved puzzle. Its careful construction, symbolic resonance, and connection to the landscape remind us that even in the absence of written records, human societies have expressed knowledge, belief, and identity through monumental form. And as we gaze upon the great serpent mound today, stretching across the Ohio Plateau, we are left with a profound and enduring question. What else remains hidden in the earth, waiting for discovery? And what can these ancient creations teach us about the minds and lives of the people who built them? In the ruins of the ancient Minoan palace at Phaistos, on the sun-drenched island of Crete, an object lies quietly in a glass case, its small size belying its immense mystery. The Phaistos Disc, a round clay tablet barely 16 centimeters in diameter, is stamped with an array of symbols spiraling inward from edge to center. Each mark is meticulously impressed, forming 241 distinct characters arranged in 61 groups, yet despite decades of study, no one has definitively deciphered their meaning. The disc's discovery in 1908 by Italian archaeologist Luigi Pernier was extraordinary, for it appeared to be unique. No comparable artifact has ever been found in the Aegean or elsewhere, leaving its purpose and context shrouded in uncertainty. The disc dates to roughly 1700 BCE, placing it in the heart of Minoan civilization, a society renowned for its palaces, intricate frescoes, and maritime influence. Unlike the monumental structures of Knossos or Phaistos itself, this object is intimate, tactile, and enigmatic. Its symbols are unlike conventional linear A or linear B scripts, suggesting either a unique writing system or a form of proto-writing, possibly used for ritual, record-keeping, or even entertainment. The precision of the impressions hints at intentional design, each symbol pressed individually, using stamps or seals, implying a systematic approach to communication previously unseen in the region. Scholars have offered cautious explanations, proposing that the disc could be a religious text, a calendrical record, a hymn, or even a sophisticated mnemonic device. Its spiral format, rather than linear text, may suggest a ritual or ceremonial function, inviting observers to follow its path in a meditative or symbolic act. The inclusion of repeated symbols raises questions. Do they encode phonetic sounds, ideas, or something else entirely? And if so, why does no other example survive to help us contextualize its use? Adding to the intrigue is the disc's apparent uniqueness. Across thousands of Minoan artifacts, none replicate its stamped signs or its spiral format. This singularity makes interpretation difficult. Was it a one-off creation, a prototype of an abandoned script, or a specialized object intended for a narrow audience? Could it represent knowledge intended for a select priestly class, or even an individual genius? The absence of parallel examples forces researchers to rely on speculation and pattern analysis, yet the artifact stubbornly resists classification. Some theories focus on its potential linguistic content. Could the disc encode a lost language or a ciphered form of Minoan speech? Computer analysis has revealed repeating patterns and symbol sequences, suggesting an underlying structure, yet attempts at translation have produced nothing definitive. Others suggest it may not be linguistic at all, but symbolic or ritualistic, its marks functioning as pictographs or ideograms rather than a phonetic script. The disc challenges modern assumptions about what constitutes writing, communication, and record-keeping, demonstrating that ancient civilizations experimented with forms of expression that do not neatly align with contemporary categories. The method of its creation is equally enigmatic. Each symbol appears to have been impressed using stamps, implying the use of standardized tools and an organized approach to the design. This raises questions about the technical sophistication of the Minoans. Were they developing a system of movable type centuries before similar innovations appeared elsewhere? And if so, why did such techniques not proliferate? Or why do we see no continuation of this approach in later Minoan or Aegean artifacts? Speculative theories have long surrounded the disc. Some suggest it contains sacred knowledge or instructions for ritual, perhaps intended to invoke protection, fertility, or cosmic harmony. Others propose that it might be an astronomical or calendrical record, its spiral form reflecting cycles of the moon, sun, or agricultural seasons. More fringe ideas entertain the possibility that the disc encodes messages lost to time, perhaps even representing contact with unknown peoples or the transmission of knowledge now forgotten. Each hypothesis underscores the disc's enduring fascination, precisely because no single explanation can fully account for its form, symbols, and context. Holding the disc, or even observing high-resolution photographs of its impressed symbols, evokes a sense of intimacy with the past. It is an artifact of quiet power, small yet profound, inviting reflection on the Minoans' intellectual and spiritual life. Did its creator intend it as a practical document, a work of art, a sacred object, or something that combined all three? And what knowledge or experience did those who used or viewed the disc gain from it? Even after more than a century of study, the Phaistos Disc continues to challenge assumptions and provoke questions. Its uniqueness, its spiral design, and its undeciphered script place it in a realm of mystery that transcends conventional archaeology. Unlike larger monumental constructions, which can be contextualized through surrounding artifacts and structures, the disc stands alone, offering a solitary dialogue between the past and present. Its silence is profound, yet it compels inquiry, curiosity, and imagination. The Phaistos Disc endures as a symbol of human ingenuity and enigma. It reminds us that even small, seemingly ordinary objects can hold extraordinary secrets, and that some knowledge may remain tantalizingly out of reach, preserved only in the careful impressions left in clay thousands of years ago. As we study it, we are invited to wonder, what ideas, rituals, or innovations of the Minoans have been lost? And what might the disc reveal if we ever succeed in unraveling its code? The mystery remains, waiting quietly for those who seek to understand it, and reminding us that some secrets of the past are deliberately, or perhaps inevitably, elusive. In a quiet corner of modern Romania, near the village of Tărtăria, an extraordinary discovery was made in 1961 that continues to perplex scholars and historians. Buried within a Neolithic settlement site, 3 small clay tablets, etched with a series of symbols and incised marks, emerged from the soil, their significance immediately apparent yet profoundly enigmatic. Each tablet is modest in size, easily held in the hand, but the weight of their mystery is immense. The markings, consisting of geometric shapes, lines, and pictographs, suggest some form of proto-writing, yet their meaning remains elusive. For decades, researchers have debated their origins, purpose, and the knowledge encoded within these fragile artifacts. Radiocarbon dating places the Tărtăria Tablets around 5,300 BCE, making them some of the earliest known examples of symbolic inscription in human history. If these dates are accurate, they predate the writing systems of Mesopotamia, Egypt, and even the Minoan civilization, raising profound questions about the origins of written communication. Could the inhabitants of this small Neolithic settlement have independently developed a system of record-keeping, ritual notation, or symbolic expression long before the civilizations we often consider the cradle of writing? Or do the tablets represent something entirely different? Perhaps a ritualistic or magical language meant not to convey everyday information but spiritual or ceremonial power? Mainstream interpretations suggest that the tablets were likely connected to ritual or religious practice. Excavations at Tărtăria revealed evidence of altars, burned offerings, and traces of ceremonial activity, implying that the inscriptions were not merely decorative but served a purposeful function in the spiritual or social life of the community. Some scholars speculate that the symbols may have been a means of communicating with the divine, recording sacred knowledge, or ensuring protection and prosperity. Yet the absence of any corroborating texts or inscriptions leaves this interpretation unconfirmed. The tablet's meaning, like so much of Neolithic symbolism, hovers in the space between tangible evidence and human imagination. Adding to the intrigue is the possibility that the Tărtăria tablets represent an early form of writing. Unlike pictographs seen in later systems, the markings are abstract and appear to follow a deliberate sequence, suggesting an underlying structure or code. Some researchers propose that they may encode counts, inventories, or even proto-linguistic information. Others caution that they could be mnemonic devices, symbolic patterns used to guide ritual practices rather than a conventional writing system. The debate continues. Do these clay artifacts offer a glimpse into the earliest stages of human literacy, or are they enigmatic expressions of a spiritual culture now long vanished? The method of their creation is also remarkable. The tablets were carefully shaped, smoothed, and then inscribed while the clay was still wet, requiring precision and deliberate intent. Each symbol is cleanly defined, indicating a practiced hand and a cognitive framework capable of abstract thought. Could these inscriptions represent a proto-alphabet, a symbolic code for communal memory, or even a record of cosmological or seasonal observations? If so, what does this suggest about the intellectual and cultural sophistication of a society so distant in time from our own? Speculative theories abound, reflecting both the intrigue and the gaps in our understanding. Some propose that the tablets are evidence of a pre-literate European civilization that possessed knowledge of writing millennia before Mesopotamia. Others suggest a more symbolic or ritualistic purpose, linking the tablets to fertility rites, ancestor worship, or early shamanistic practices. A few fringe hypotheses even suggest that they encode esoteric knowledge or mathematical concepts lost to time. Regardless of the interpretation, the Tărtăria tablets compel us to reconsider our assumptions about the origins of human symbolic thought and the diversity of Neolithic cultures. Context adds another layer to the mystery. The Danube Valley, where Tărtăria is located, was a center of Neolithic innovation, with complex settlements, advanced pottery, and evidence of early trade networks. The tablets, then, are not isolated artifacts. They emerge from a culture capable of organizing labor, cultivating crops, and expressing abstract ideas in material form. Could the symbols on the tablets represent a system shared across other settlements, now lost to archaeology? Or were they unique to this particular community, a fleeting experiment in symbolic representation that vanished as quickly as it appeared? Holding or even observing the tablets today, one senses a profound intimacy with the minds of people who lived over 7 millennia ago. These small, unassuming pieces of clay embody the human impulse to record, to communicate, and to make sense of the world. They provoke questions that extend far beyond their physical form. What knowledge did the creators seek to preserve? Were they recording events, codifying ritual, or simply expressing themselves artistically? And if this represents the earliest stage of writing, what forces, social, spiritual, or cognitive, drove humans to develop symbolic representation in the first place? Even with modern scientific analysis, including radiocarbon dating and microscopic study of tool marks, the Tărtăria Tablets remain silent on their true purpose. Their enigmatic inscriptions resist translation, offering only tantalizing glimpses into the thoughts and lives of a Neolithic society. They invite reflection on the universality of human curiosity and the enduring desire to make meaning from the world around us. The Tărtăria Tablets endure as a testament to the complexity of early human culture, and the unresolved questions surrounding them highlight the limits of our knowledge. Were these artifacts the beginning of writing in Europe, a local ritualistic innovation, or a symbolic language entirely separate from practical communication? As we contemplate the clay, the marks, and the vanished hands that made them, we are reminded that some of humanity's earliest ideas remain elusive, preserved only in fragile form, waiting patiently for discovery, insight, or understanding that may never come. And yet, in their quiet mystery, the tablets continue to provoke wonder, inspiring us to imagine the stories and knowledge that lie hidden in the deep past. In the fertile plains of the Indus River, under the harsh sun and stretching winds of modern-day Pakistan, lie the remnants of a city that once thrived over 4 millennia ago. Mohenjo-Daro, whose name translates to Mound of the Dead, emerges from the earth as a sprawling labyrinth of brick streets, imposing walls, and carefully planned structures, a testament to one of the world's earliest urban civilizations. Walking among the crumbling terraces, one can almost hear the echoes of bustling markets, the clatter of carts over cobblestones, and the murmur of inhabitants navigating the intricately laid streets. Yet, for all the clarity of its urban planning, Mohenjo-Daro remains a profound mystery. We know the outlines of daily life, but the inner workings of its society, its language, and its sudden decline continue to elude us. Constructed around 2500 BCE, Mohenjo-Daro was part of the Indus Valley Civilization, a society remarkable for its sophistication and scale. Its streets were laid out in precise grids, lined with uniform baked brick houses and equipped with advanced drainage systems and public baths, such as the iconic Great Bath. This attention to urban organization suggests a culture with remarkable engineering knowledge and social coordination. Yet despite these achievements, the civilization left behind no deciphered written records. The Indus script, appearing on seals and pottery, remains unreadable to this day, leaving us with tantalizing fragments of a complex society whose political and religious structures we can only infer. Archaeological investigations reveal a city designed for both practicality and ritual. Houses were equipped with private wells and sophisticated sanitation systems, indicating concern for hygiene and community health. Public buildings suggest ceremonial or administrative functions, hinting at governance and ritual practice. Yet the purpose of some structures, particularly the Great Bath and certain mysterious platforms, remains uncertain. Were they primarily spiritual centers, spaces for communal gatherings, or monuments of political power? The absence of explanatory texts means that every hypothesis must contend with limited material evidence, a challenge that has kept scholars debating for decades. The city's sudden decline adds another layer to its enigmatic story. Around 1900 BCE, Mohenjo-Daro and other major Indus settlements were abandoned, apparently without the devastation that accompanies conquest or war. What forced such an advanced urban center to fall silent? Some propose environmental changes, shifts in river courses, flooding, or prolonged drought could have undermined agriculture and water supply. Others suggest social or political upheaval, disease, or internal collapse. Yet none of these theories fully account for the systematic abandonment and careful destruction, or deliberate dismantling, seen in parts of the city. The reasons behind Mohenjo-Daro's decline remain speculative, its mystery enduring in the ruins of brick and dust. Adding to the intrigue is the question of identity and cultural knowledge. The Indus script, present on hundreds of small seals, pottery fragments, and amulets, hints at communication, trade, and administration, but without a Rosetta Stone equivalent, its meaning eludes us. Were these symbols a language, a numerical system, or ritualistic signs? And if this civilization was so advanced in urban planning and social organization, why does its knowledge appear to vanish so completely from the historical record? Mohenjo-Daro challenges assumptions about the linear progression of human civilization and reminds us that complexity can emerge, flourish, and disappear without leaving a comprehensible narrative behind. Speculative interpretations have further fueled fascination with the city. Some suggest that its urban layout reflects astronomical or cosmological principles, with streets aligned to cardinal points and structures positioned according to celestial events. Others propose that the Great Bath and other water features indicate ritualistic or symbolic use of water, perhaps in fertility ceremonies, purification rites, or societal rites of passage. A few fringe hypotheses even propose connections to lost knowledge, advanced technologies, or influences from civilizations long forgotten. While these ideas are speculative, they underscore the persistent sense of wonder that Mohenjo-Daro inspires. The scale and precision of the city's construction speak to a society capable of sophisticated governance, long-term planning, and technological understanding. Builders used standardized bricks, carefully measured and fired, and arranged homes, streets, and public spaces with remarkable uniformity. Could such planning have been coordinated by a central authority, or was it the product of a collective cultural practice? And if the city's knowledge was so advanced, why did it disappear, leaving no readable texts or monuments to illuminate its inner workings? Walking through the ruins today, the experience is both awe-inspiring and humbling. The remnants of houses, streets, and public baths suggest a civilization that valued order, cleanliness, and community, yet its inner life, its beliefs, governance, and culture remains largely invisible. Mohenjo-Daro invites reflection on the fragility of human knowledge, the impermanence of societies, and the ways in which history can vanish almost as completely as it once flourished. Even with modern archaeology, satellite imaging, and digital reconstruction, Mohenjo-Daro continues to guard its secrets. Its streets, though carefully mapped, reveal only the framework of life, not the stories of those who inhabited them. Its inscriptions remain undeciphered, its ceremonial sites enigmatic, and its sudden decline unexplained. The city embodies both human ingenuity and the profound limits of historical understanding Mohenjo-Daro endures as a symbol of the unsolved mysteries of our past. Its advanced infrastructure, sophisticated planning, and sudden disappearance challenge our assumptions about ancient civilizations and their capabilities. Standing among its ruins today, one cannot help but wonder, what daily lives, beliefs, and technologies have been lost to time? What knowledge did the people of Mohenjo-Daro possess that the rest of the world has forgotten? And what other secrets of the Indus Valley civilization remain buried, waiting for discovery? The city whispers questions across the millennia, inviting us to ponder the remarkable ingenuity and enduring mystery of one of humanity's earliest urban societies. Nestled amidst the rolling hills and rugged landscapes of Sardinia, Italy, the giants' tombs, locally known as Tombe dei Giganti, rise as silent monuments from the Bronze Age. Long rectangular burial mounds constructed from massive slabs of stone, each tomb is crowned with a semicircular exedra, a forecourt that seems to invite the living to contemplate the world of the dead. Their sheer size is striking. Some reach lengths of over 30 meters, dwarfing modern human scale and evoking the ancient name giants that hints at both the monumental builders and the legends they inspired. As one walks along the stone corridors and weathered chambers, it becomes apparent that these are no ordinary tombs. They are monumental statements of power, ritual, and communal memory, yet they remain enigmatic, their purpose and construction techniques still debated. Dating from approximately 1800 to 1200 BCE, the giants' tombs were built by the Nuragic civilization, a people whose enigmatic stone towers, Nureg, dot Sardinia's landscape. Unlike the fortified Nureg, however, the tombs are clearly designed for collective burial, capable of holding dozens, even hundreds of individuals. Excavations have revealed skeletal remains, pottery, and personal artifacts, suggesting ritual significance intertwined with daily life. Yet, while much is known about their function as communal tombs, questions abound. How were these enormous slabs quarried, transported, and lifted into place without advanced machinery? What social or religious imperatives drove the Nuragic people to invest such extraordinary labor into structures that dwarf any individual human? Mainstream archaeology suggests that the tombs served as both burial sites and ritual centers, connecting the living with their ancestors. The forecourts, often aligned with solar events or prominent landscape features, may have been venues for ceremonies, offerings, or seasonal celebrations. Some researchers speculate that the orientation of certain tombs corresponds with solstices or lunar cycles, suggesting an advanced understanding of astronomy. Could the tombs have been designed as cosmological markers, blending architecture, ritual, and celestial observation into a single sacred space? If so, the builders demonstrated not only engineering skill, but profound conceptual sophistication. Yet beyond these functional explanations lies a more enigmatic dimension. The tomb's sheer scale, combined with local legends, has long fueled speculation. Folklore describes giants, ancestors of extraordinary stature, who once roamed the island, giving rise to the tomb's monumental proportions. Skeletal remains, though human, sometimes reveal above-average stature for their era, further feeding the mythos. Could the Nuragic builders have deliberately exaggerated the size of the tombs as symbolic representations of ancestral power, intended to awe the living and honor the dead? Or were these structures intended to convey spiritual or cosmological significance, the scale itself acting as a form of ritual language encoded in stone? The method of construction remains equally puzzling. Slabs weighing several tons were transported over uneven terrain, sometimes sourced from distant quarries. The precision with which these stones were arranged, upright monoliths forming corridors, capstones spanning chambers without mortar, suggests a mastery of balance and weight distribution, knowledge that would have required meticulous planning and coordination. Were there specialized laborers trained for monumental construction? Did the Nuragic society employ simple machines, ramps, or yet unidentified techniques to achieve these feats? And how did they organize the communal effort necessary to execute such enduring structures? Speculative theories have further expanded the tomb's mystique. Some propose that the giants' tombs were not merely burial sites, but centers of ritual power, designed to channel spiritual energy or mark territorial dominion. Others suggest astronomical or calendrical functions, with alignments that encode seasonal and celestial events. A few fringe hypotheses even suggest that the tombs are markers of ancient knowledge or lost technological capability, reflecting a society whose understanding of stonework and cosmology exceeds what conventional narratives often allow. While these ideas remain unverified, they underscore the profound impact these structures have on our imagination and their continuing allure as enigmas. The tomb's interiors offer more subtle, haunting mysteries. Inside the long chambers, walls occasionally bear carvings or symbolic motifs, abstract and minimalist yet charged with meaning. Skeletons found in collective arrangement suggest complex funerary practices, potentially involving repeated use over generations. Did these tombs serve as portals to the afterlife, or as instruments of social cohesion, reinforcing shared ancestry and identity? And what beliefs did the Nuragic people hold about death, power, and the cosmos that inspired such extraordinary monuments? Walking among the giants' tombs today, one senses a dialogue across millennia. The wind whistles through stone corridors, the sun casts shadows over capstones, and the scale of the monuments invites both awe and contemplation. Here, in the quiet of Sardinia's hills, the echoes of ritual, labor, and belief linger in the air. These are not simply graves. They are expressions of a worldview encoded in stone, awaiting interpretation. Even after decades of study, the giants' tombs retain their aura of mystery. Their scale, construction, and symbolic resonance challenge our understanding of Bronze Age societies. They remind us that monumental architecture can communicate ideas beyond words, that ritual, power, and cosmology were intertwined in ways that remain largely inaccessible to us. Standing before these tombs today, one cannot help but wonder, what else did the Nuragic people know, see, or believe that is now lost? What messages, rituals, or knowledge remain buried within these stones, waiting for the careful observer to uncover them? The giants' tombs endure as silent sentinels of human ambition, ingenuity, and mystery, a testament to a past that continues to challenge, fascinate, and inspire curiosity. Hidden within the limestone cliffs of southwestern France, the Lascaux caves lie silent, their entrances concealed by centuries of overgrowth and sediment. Discovered in 1940 by a group of local teenagers, the caves revealed a hidden world. Walls and ceilings adorned with vivid, breathtaking paintings that transport observers back nearly 20,000 years. The colors, ochres, blacks, reds, and yellows, retain a remarkable vibrancy, and the depictions of bison, horses, aurochs, deer, and enigmatic abstract symbols create a narrative frozen in time. The cave's interior is a labyrinth of chambers and passageways, where every surface seems to pulse with life, suggesting that the artists were deeply attuned to both the animals they portrayed and the subterranean environment in which they worked. Scholars date the Lascaux paintings to the Upper Paleolithic period, a time when hunter-gatherer communities roamed Europe. The scale, composition, and technique of the artwork are extraordinary. Figures are often depicted in motion, with layered outlines and attention to anatomical detail that demonstrates sophisticated observation and artistic skill. Yet, for all we can appreciate aesthetically, the meaning of these images remains elusive. Were they ritualistic, intended to ensure successful hunts, to honor the spirits of animals, or to communicate knowledge within the community? Or were they simply expressions of artistic creativity, capturing the awe and reverence of human beings for the creatures that shared their world? The arrangement of the paintings within the cave adds further intrigue. Some chambers, like the Hall of the Bulls, display enormous animals that dwarf a standing human, while other areas contain small, delicate figures interspersed with abstract signs and handprints. Could the scale and placement of the artwork reflect spiritual or symbolic hierarchies, cosmological beliefs, or social structures? Some researchers suggest that the caves themselves were ritual spaces, where movement through the passages mimicked journeys of the spirit, each painting contributing to a narrative or ceremonial experience. The careful selection of pigments and the precise placement of figures indicate that the creators invested thought, time, and energy into crafting an environment more immersive than mere representation. It was a space designed to inspire, teach, and perhaps even transform those who entered. Mainstream interpretations generally frame the paintings as either hunting magic, intended to ensure bountiful game, or as early attempts at recording knowledge about animal behavior and migration. Yet, these explanations, while plausible, cannot account for every detail. Some symbols remain undeciphered, abstract forms that appear alongside realistic depictions of fauna. Others speculate that geometric patterns and enigmatic signs may reflect early attempts at proto-writing or symbolic communication, hinting at intellectual activity far more complex than previously assumed for Paleolithic communities. Could the Lascaux artists have encoded knowledge or stories in these symbols, passing messages to those who could interpret them across generations? The technique of the paintings also deepens the mystery. Artists used brushes made of animal hair, moss, or reeds, as well as blowing pigments through hollow bones to create soft outlines. Some images employ perspective and overlapping forms to convey depth and motion, while others are enhanced by the natural contours of the cave walls, integrating the geology into the art itself. How did these hunter-gatherers acquire such technical mastery, and for what purpose? Was the act of painting a spiritual practice in itself, a meditative or ritualistic engagement with the forces of life and death? Or was it a social tool, a means of unifying a community and transmitting collective knowledge? Speculative theories have grown over the years, reflecting both the power of the art and the gaps in our understanding. Some researchers suggest that the caves were sites for initiation ceremonies, where young members of the community confronted representations of the natural world and the spiritual unknown. Others propose astronomical interpretations, seeing constellations, seasonal markers, or celestial cycles encoded within the arrangements of animals and symbols. A few fringe theories have even posited shamanistic practices, suggesting that the paintings reflect altered states of consciousness, visions, or spiritual journeys. While evidence for these interpretations remains inconclusive, the enduring debate underscores the profound depth and mystery of the caves. Walking through Lascaux, or even viewing photographs and reproductions, one is struck by the intimacy and immediacy of the experience. The animals seem to breathe and move, the signs beckon interpretation, and the scale of human effort is palpable. The caves offer a rare window into the minds and beliefs of people who lived tens of thousands of years ago, yet they communicate in a language we cannot fully comprehend. The juxtaposition of life-sized beasts and tiny handprints evokes questions about identity, community, and the relationship between humans and the natural world. Even with modern conservation efforts, the Lascaux paintings remain partially inaccessible to protect them from deterioration. Yet their allure endures, compelling researchers and visitors alike to seek understanding, to wonder about the motivations, experiences, and knowledge of those who created them. The caves stand as a testament to human imagination, ingenuity, and the timeless drive to communicate across generations. The Lascaux cave paintings endure as one of humanity's earliest and most profound artistic achievements. They challenge our assumptions about prehistoric people, revealing cognitive and symbolic sophistication far beyond the simplest notion of survival. Standing before these ancient walls, one cannot help but wonder, what did the artists see in the flickering torchlight? What stories, rituals, or knowledge were they attempting to convey? And how much of their understanding of the world remains hidden, waiting silently within the rock to be discovered? In the shadows of Lascaux, the past speaks, and its message, though partially obscured, continues to inspire awe, curiosity, and mystery. In the serene waters of New Hampshire's Lake Winnipesaukee, an object rests quietly beneath the surface, largely unnoticed by casual observers, but enigmatic enough to captivate historians and cryptographers alike. Known as the Lake Winnipesaukee Mystery Stone, this small, slate-like artifact bears markings that defy easy interpretation, its angular lines and symbols etched with precision, yet without any clear context. Found in the late 19th century near the lake's shores, the stone has sparked debates that continue to this day, inviting speculation about who created it, for what purpose, and what secrets it might contain. The stone itself is modest, easily held in the hand, yet the depth of its mystery is anything but small. The markings are geometric and deliberate, forming lines, triangles, and patterns that suggest meaning beyond mere decoration. Early reports describe the stone as having been uncovered during construction or dredging work, but its provenance remains murky. Unlike everyday tools or naturally fractured rock, the deliberate etching indicates human intervention, an act of intention stretching back to a time and culture that remains unknown. The absence of corroborating artifacts in the immediate area adds to the sense of isolation, making it difficult to determine whether this object was ceremonial, communicative, or entirely practical. Mainstream explanations have ranged from the mundane to the plausible. Some propose that the stone represents early Native American art, possibly a form of symbolic communication or territorial marker. Others suggest it was a tool used for measurement or navigation, perhaps even a mnemonic device for trade routes, fishing grounds, or astronomical observations. Yet none of these hypotheses fully explain the stone's angular precision and abstract markings. The designs appear too sophisticated to be random, yet they do not match known systems of writing or iconography from local indigenous cultures, leaving their interpretation tantalizingly out of reach. The stone's uniqueness raises further questions. Could it represent an isolated experiment in symbolic language, an attempt at record-keeping that did not persist? Or does it hint at the presence of a now vanished culture, whose traces in the historical record have largely disappeared? Some researchers have suggested parallels with European inscribed stones, while others see in it a potential ritualistic purpose, possibly related to water, spiritual beliefs, or local mythology. Yet without additional artifacts or corroborating evidence, each explanation remains speculative, a series of educated guesses orbiting a stubbornly silent object. Adding to the enigma is the precision of the incisions themselves. They are too regular to be accidental, implying tools, planning, and intention. Could the markings have encoded information about seasonal cycles, celestial events, or environmental knowledge? Were they symbols known only to a select group, intended to convey meaning to initiates or members of a specific community? Or, more provocatively, do they represent a form of communication entirely independent of any other known culture in the region, a cryptic message frozen in stone, whose audience and purpose are lost to time? Speculative interpretations abound, reflecting both the stone's inherent intrigue and the gaps in our understanding. Some suggest the markings could be a map depicting underwater features, trade routes, or resources hidden beneath the lake's placid surface. Others propose an astronomical or calendrical function, hinting that the creators observed celestial patterns and encoded them in symbolic form. More fringe theories entertain the idea of ancient visitors, pre-Columbian transoceanic contact, or even knowledge lost to modern scholarship, although evidence for such ideas is tenuous at best. Yet the stone's silence continues to invite these imaginative conjectures, precisely because it defies simple categorization. The environment in which the stone was found adds a subtle, haunting dimension to its story. Lake Winnipesaukee is vast, its surface shifting with the seasons, its depths largely unexplored. The water itself carries a sense of permanence and concealment, preserving objects, sediments, and perhaps secrets from centuries past. Could the stone have been deliberately placed underwater, intended to remain hidden from view except to those who knew its location? Or was it displaced from a nearby settlement, its context lost as the landscape changed over time? The lake becomes not just a backdrop but a participant in the mystery, holding and guarding its enigmatic artifact. Even after decades of study, the stone resists interpretation. Attempts to decode the symbols using comparative analysis, statistical methods, and cryptographic techniques have yielded no consensus. The artifact remains solitary, isolated, and silent, challenging our expectations about early cultures in North America and the ways humans use symbols to communicate. Its enigmatic presence evokes reflection on the nature of knowledge, the limits of archaeology, and the fragments of the past that may survive only as tantalizing mysteries. Holding or observing the Lake Winnipesaukee Mystery Stone, one feels an unusual intimacy with the unknown. The patterns etched into its surface connect us to human thought across centuries, to a mind or culture that left behind only the faintest trace. We are reminded that history is rarely linear, and that objects, no matter how small, can carry weighty questions. What purpose did the stone serve? Who created it, and what knowledge or message did they intend to convey? And how many other objects of similar mystery lie hidden beneath lakes, soils, or forgotten landscapes, waiting to challenge our understanding of the past? The Lake Winnipesaukee Mystery Stone endures as a silent testament to human ingenuity, curiosity, and enigma. It reminds us that even modest artifacts can provoke profound questions, that knowledge can be deliberately concealed, and that the past may speak in whispers rather than proclamations. As we ponder its marks, its purpose, and its creators, we are left with a sense of awe and wonder, compelled to explore, question, and imagine the hidden chapters of human history. The mystery remains, inviting reflection and curiosity, urging us to consider not only what we have discovered but what remains unseen, lingering quietly beneath the waters of time. In the vast expanse of the Arabian desert, where shifting sands stretch beyond the horizon and the heat shimmers like a mirage, whispers of a lost city have persisted for centuries. Travelers of antiquity spoke of Ubar, a fabled settlement known as the Atlantis of the Sands, a place of wealth, incense, and mystery that vanished without a trace. The desert itself seems to conspire with the legend, erasing roads, structures, and the very memory of human habitation beneath dunes and rock. To stand here is to confront the stark, silent landscape, and to wonder what truths, if any, lie buried beneath these sands. Historical accounts from Arab geographers and early traders describe Ubar as a hub of the frankincense trade, a city whose prosperity depended on caravans crossing the desert. Yet beyond these tantalizing references, evidence is scarce. The ruins themselves, located in the Dhofar region of Oman, are subtle. Low stone foundations, remnants of fortifications, and traces of ancient wells suggest habitation, but nothing on the scale that oral traditions might imply. How could a city, apparently thriving in one of the harshest environments on Earth, disappear so completely, leaving only fragments to tease the imagination? Archaeological surveys have revealed remnants of roads that converge on the site, suggesting it was part of a larger network of trade routes, known as the incense route. Satellite imagery and ground-penetrating radar have uncovered subsurface anomalies, linear depressions in the sand and stone formations that hint at human modification, but interpretation remains challenging. Was Ubar a true urban center, a network of fortified trading posts, or a mythologized waypoint amplified by centuries of storytelling? The desert preserves and conceals simultaneously, offering clues that are tantalizing yet incomplete, a puzzle whose pieces are scattered and weathered. The mystery deepens when considering the desert's ever-changing environment. Some researchers suggest that climatic shifts, desertification, or the collapse of vital water sources could have led to the city's abandonment, leaving travelers and traders to whisper legends of a vanished metropolis. Others propose natural catastrophes, sandstorms, earthquakes, or shifting terrain that might have erased evidence of human occupation. Yet even the most meticulous scientific investigation cannot fully reconstruct a society whose remains have been so thoroughly swallowed by the sands. How much of Ubar's history is geological, and how much is cultural memory distilled into myth? Speculative interpretations have only fueled fascination. Some suggest Ubar was more than a trading post, perhaps a ceremonial or religious center, or even a seat of power whose influence extended across the Arabian Peninsula. Others connect it to the stories of Atlantis, the fabled sunken city described by Plato, drawing parallels between disappearance, legend, and lost knowledge. Could Ubar have been a center of advanced knowledge, engineering, or culture, its achievements obliterated by environmental forces? Or is the city's allure purely symbolic, a reflection of human imagination, projecting civilization into the emptiness of the desert? The material evidence, however sparse, is compelling. Foundations built of stone indicate architectural skill. Pottery shards suggest trade links extending beyond the immediate region, and ancient wells and cisterns hint at sophisticated water management, essential for survival in such an arid landscape. These features indicate that humans were not only present, but resourceful, capable of establishing thriving settlements in conditions that challenge even modern infrastructure. How did these inhabitants adapt so effectively, and what cultural, technological, or organizational knowledge did they possess that allowed them to flourish, only to disappear with equal suddenness? Even the legend itself holds layers of intrigue. Accounts describe Ubar as wealthy beyond imagination, a nexus where caravans from Yemen, Oman, and beyond converged. Its riches were tied to incense, myrrh, and other exotic goods that were prized across the ancient world. But does legend exaggerate reality? Or do the dunes simply guard the city's true scale? And what of the people who called it home? Were they ordinary traders and farmers, or an elite ruling class whose ambitions and hubris drew the wrath of fate or nature upon them? Modern exploration, aided by satellite imaging and geophysical surveying, has pinpointed potential sites, yet nothing conclusively matches the grandeur suggested in ancient texts. Excavations have revealed traces of habitations, but the desert has claimed most of the evidence, leaving walls, roads, and artifacts scattered, eroded, or hidden. Ubar seems to exist simultaneously in fact and legend, tangible yet intangible, a city whose story is told as much through absence as presence. To contemplate Ubar is to confront both history and imagination. The desert's vastness mirrors the gaps in our knowledge, while the scattered ruins hint at human ingenuity and the impermanence of civilizations. What knowledge, culture, or trade networks were lost when the city vanished? Could advanced urban planning, political structures, or spiritual practices have once thrived here, only to be erased by time and sand? And how much of what we know is shaped by myth, memory, and interpretation, rather than material fact? The Atlantis of the sands endures as a symbol of vanished human achievement, resilience, and the desert's capacity to conceal its story bridges archaeology and legend, science and speculation, fact and imagination. Standing in the windswept plains of Oman today, one can feel the weight of history pressing silently through the sands. The city may be gone, but its questions remain. What lay at the heart of Ubar, and what secrets of human ingenuity, adaptation, and culture still lie buried beneath the ever-shifting dunes, waiting for those willing to seek them out? The mystery endures, inviting reflection, wonder, and the recognition that some of the past's most compelling stories are those we have yet to uncover. Rising from the rolling hills of southeastern Zimbabwe, the great Zimbabwe ruins emerge as a testament to human ingenuity, ambition, and mystery. Massive stone walls, some reaching over 10 meters in height, curve gracefully across the landscape, enclosing terraces, enclosures, and intricate passageways. Unlike many ancient ruins, These structures were constructed entirely without mortar, their carefully shaped granite blocks interlocking with remarkable precision. The sheer scale and sophistication of the site convey both power and permanence, suggesting a society capable of immense coordination and craftsmanship. Walking among the remnants, one cannot help but sense the echoes of a civilization that once thrived here, its influence spanning far beyond the hills it left behind. The city, which flourished between the 11th and 15th centuries CE, served as the political and spiritual center of a kingdom that dominated trade routes across southern Africa. Archaeological evidence indicates that Great Zimbabwe was a hub for commerce, linking the interior with coastal trading posts along the Indian Ocean. Excavations have uncovered soapstone carvings, pottery, iron tools, and beads of gold and ivory, hinting at a society deeply engaged in craftsmanship, ritual, and trade. Yet for all the material evidence, fundamental questions persist. How did the builders achieve such precision without mortar or advanced machinery? What political, social, and religious structures governed life here, and why did the city eventually decline? The layout of Great Zimbabwe is equally compelling. The site consists of three main areas: the hill complex, perched atop a rocky outcrop and likely the residence of rulers; the great enclosure, a massive elliptical wall that curves with an almost architectural elegance; and the valley complex, which appears to have been a residential area for the broader population. Each space conveys a sense of hierarchy and purpose, yet much about daily life and ceremonial practice remains elusive. How did the rulers communicate authority and organize labor on such a monumental scale? Were the walls themselves symbolic, serving not only as physical barriers, but as statements of prestige, spiritual power, or cosmological alignment? Historians and archaeologists have long debated the origins and significance of the site. Early European explorers often underestimated the technological and social capabilities of African societies, proposing theories that attributed the ruins to lost civilizations from the Mediterranean or Middle East. Modern scholarship, however, emphasizes that Great Zimbabwe was an indigenous creation, the product of local ingenuity, cultural sophistication, and adaptation to the environment. The precision of the dry stone masonry, the complexity of the layout, and the integration with the surrounding landscape all speak to a people deeply attuned to both their material and symbolic world. Yet even with this knowledge, the mysteries of Great Zimbabwe remain profound. The symbolism encoded in the walls and enclosures is still not fully understood. The iconic soapstone bird carvings, often found atop walls and platforms, hint at religious or spiritual significance, but their precise meaning has eluded scholars. Were they totems, representations of ancestral spirits, or markers of political authority? And why did such an advanced urban center eventually fall into decline, leaving walls to crumble and terraces to be reclaimed by nature? Environmental change, resource depletion, and shifting trade routes may have played a role, but no single explanation fully accounts for the city's abandonment. Speculative interpretations have further fueled fascination. Some researchers suggest that Great Zimbabwe's architecture encodes astronomical knowledge, with walls and passages aligned to celestial events, solstices, or lunar cycles. Others propose ritualistic or ceremonial functions, arguing that the scale and orientation of structures were designed to amplify spiritual power or facilitate communal gatherings. A few fringe theories even suggest that the city served as a repository of hidden knowledge, a center where trade, politics, and ritual intersected in ways that modern understanding can barely grasp. While these ideas remain speculative, they underscore the sense of awe inspired by the ruins and the persistent questions they provoke. The construction of the massive stone walls is itself an enduring puzzle. Blocks weighing hundreds of kilograms were quarried, transported, and stacked with remarkable precision. their interlocking design allowing the walls to stand for centuries without mortar. Could this feat have been achieved solely through human labor and ingenuity, or were there lost techniques, specialized tools, or organizational methods now forgotten? The absence of written records from the builders adds to the enigma, leaving us to interpret the site through the stones themselves, the artifacts left behind, and the oral histories preserved in the region. Walking through Great Zimbabwe today, one is struck by the interplay of scale, craftsmanship, and landscape. The walls curve like living forms, terraces rise in harmony with the rocky hills, and every stone seems placed with intention. The site conveys both human ambition and the impermanence of civilization, a reminder that even the most sophisticated societies leave traces that endure only partially, inviting future generations to wonder and interpret. Great Zimbabwe remains a symbol of both achievement and enigma. Its impressive architecture, complex urban planning, and enduring legacy challenge assumptions about pre-colonial African societies, revealing a civilization capable of remarkable engineering, artistic expression, and social organization. Yet it also reminds us that knowledge can be lost, and that the deeper truths of a society may lie buried in the earth, waiting for patient observation, careful analysis, and perhaps a touch of imagination. As we stand among the weathered walls and terraces, the mind naturally asks, what daily lives, political strategies, and spiritual beliefs once animated this city? How did its people perceive themselves in relation to the land, the sky, and one another? And what remains hidden, still encoded in stone, waiting to reveal its secrets to those who seek to understand the extraordinary civilization that created Great Zimbabwe? The ruins endure, both monumental and mysterious, a bridge across centuries that invites reflection, curiosity, and awe. Hidden for nearly 2 millennia within the arid caves of the Judean desert, the Copper Scroll stands apart from all other Dead Sea Scrolls. Unlike its delicate parchment companions, this artifact is composed of thin sheets of pure copper, engraved with inscriptions that survive in remarkable clarity despite the passage of centuries. When first unearthed in 1952 near Khirbet Qumran, the scroll stunned archaeologists, not only for its unusual medium but for the extraordinary content it promised. Where most scrolls contain scripture, poetry, or liturgical texts, the Copper Scroll catalogs what appears to be a list of hidden treasures, detailing caches of gold, silver, and precious objects buried throughout the region. It is at once tantalizing and confounding, a treasure map frozen in time whose secrets remain largely unrevealed. The scroll itself is striking in appearance. Its copper plates, rolled tightly into a cylinder, resist the ravages of time, but demand careful handling. The inscriptions are arranged as a series of locations, each accompanied by cryptic directions and measurements, sometimes referencing natural landmarks or man-made structures long since vanished. Scholars have marveled at the precision of the text and the sheer audacity of its claim. Thousands of talents of silver, gold, and other valuables supposedly hidden away in a complex network of caves, pits, and recesses. Yet, over 70 years of excavation, analysis, and field expeditions have failed to recover more than fragments, leaving the scroll's promise unfulfilled and its story suspended between fact and legend. Dating from the late 1st century CE, the Copper Scroll likely reflects a tumultuous period in Judean history, possibly associated with the Roman occupation and the events leading to the destruction of the Second Temple in Jerusalem. Mainstream interpretations suggest it may record the storage of temple treasures or valuables belonging to wealthy families attempting to protect their wealth from pillage and chaos. Yet questions abound. If the treasures were real, why were they never recovered? Were they deliberately concealed in places so obscure that only insiders could locate them, or did time and circumstance render them irretrievable? And what does the scroll reveal about the social, political, and religious landscape of its era? and the extraordinary lengths to which people would go to safeguard their wealth. The copper scroll is also unique in its composition and design. Engraving on metal required considerable skill and patience, far more demanding than writing on parchment or papyrus. This suggests that the creators understood the importance of permanence, that they intended their message to endure even in the harshest conditions. Could this indicate a society that valued secrecy and security above all, or a ritualistic significance to the act of cataloging hidden wealth? And if these treasures were indeed buried, what does it reveal about the culture's relationship with material wealth, sacred objects, and survival amid uncertainty? Speculative interpretations have only deepened the scroll's mystique. Some researchers have attempted to match the locations described with modern topography, yet the landscape has shifted over centuries. Valleys erode, caves collapse, and rivers change course, making precise identification difficult. Others suggest the scroll may encode symbolic or allegorical meanings, rather than literal instructions, perhaps representing spiritual or communal treasures rather than material ones. Could the copper scroll be a sophisticated literary device, a way of preserving cultural memory through metaphorical treasure? Or was it intended as a practical guide for a highly secretive operation now lost to history? The interplay between mystery and history has fueled decades of investigation and imagination. Explorers, archaeologists, and adventurers have scoured deserts, valleys, and caves, guided by the scroll's inscriptions, yet tangible evidence of the treasure remains elusive. Was it recovered in antiquity, its memory fading from written and oral tradition? Or does it still lie hidden, buried under layers of earth and stone, awaiting discovery by those capable of interpreting the scroll's cryptic directions? The impossibility of certainty only amplifies fascination, lending the artifact a sense of enduring enigma. Even the act of deciphering the text is fraught with challenge. The measurements, landmarks, and directions are precise, yet they reference a world that has changed dramatically. Translating these instructions requires not only linguistic skill, but imagination, geographic insight, and historical understanding. Scholars debate whether the scroll represents reality, exaggeration, or coded symbolism. Every attempt to reconcile its instructions with the terrain generates both insight and frustration, leaving the reader or investigator suspended between knowledge and speculation. The copper scroll's enduring allure lies in its combination of practicality and mystery. It is at once a document of extraordinary historical interest and a puzzle that teases the imagination. It speaks of a culture preoccupied with preservation, secrecy, and perhaps the allure of the unattainable. It challenges assumptions about the daily lives, priorities, and capabilities of its creators, while offering a tantalizing glimpse into the tumultuous world of first-century Judea, a world of wealth, devotion, and survival under extraordinary circumstances. Holding the copper scroll in mind, one is compelled to ponder not only the treasures it promises, but the deeper human impulses it represents, the desire to protect what is valuable, the ingenuity required to conceal and preserve, and the enduring human fascination with discovery. What treasures truly lay hidden, and what knowledge or cultural significance might they carry? Are they remnants of wealth, ritual, or memory, waiting patiently beneath the desert sands? Or is the scroll itself the true treasure, a bridge across time connecting us to the hopes, fears, and ingenuity of people long gone? The copper scroll remains a singular artifact of both historical and enigmatic significance. It stands as a testament to human ingenuity, secrecy, and the enduring lure of mystery. Its inscriptions, etched in metal, continue to defy complete understanding, reminding us that some of history's most compelling stories are not those we can fully solve, but those that inspire questions, reflection, and wonder. As we contemplate its cryptic lines and vanished treasures, we are left with a simple yet profound question. What secrets still lie hidden, waiting for those daring, or perhaps patient, enough to seek them out? Scattered across the landscapes of ancient Roman Europe, in fields, riverbeds, and archaeological sites, lie objects that defy explanation. Small, hollow, bronze dodecahedrons, each carefully cast with 12 pentagonal faces, punctuated by circular holes of varying diameters. Measuring between 4 and 11 centimeters across, they have been found in regions stretching from Britain to Hungary, yet no contemporary Roman texts mention them. Their uniformity and craftsmanship suggest intentionality and purpose, yet their exact function remains a mystery. Holding one, it is immediately apparent that these are not simple curiosities. They are objects of deliberate design, carefully engineered, and subtly enigmatic, as though waiting silently to reveal their secrets to those who can decipher their code. Dating from the 2nd to 4th centuries CE, these dodecahedrons occupy a peculiar place in the archaeological record. They are made primarily of bronze, though a few examples exist in stone, each face perforated with circular holes ranging in diameter, sometimes adorned with small knobs at each vertex. Their design is consistent across hundreds of examples, yet they appear without context, rarely associated with domestic, military, or religious sites. The consistency of form hints at a shared knowledge or purpose, but what that purpose might have been remains unresolved. Were they tools, toys, ritual objects, or something else entirely? Mainstream interpretations attempt to situate the dodecahedrons within Roman material culture. Some propose practical uses, measuring devices for calibrating military equipment or surveying instruments, tools for knitting or weaving, or even candlestick holders. These explanations, while plausible, fail to account fully for the geometric precision and the seeming lack of wear on many specimens. If they were utilitarian, why are there no mentions in Roman manuals or texts? Why do their sizes, shapes, and hole diameters vary so precisely, yet appear in no functional context familiar to scholars of Roman engineering or domestic life? The enigma deepens when considering their design. Each pentagonal face bears a circular aperture, often of differing diameters, while the vertices sport small knobs or projections. Could these features have been part of an intricate mechanical function, perhaps as templates for crafting textiles or as instruments for astronomical observation? Some have suggested that the varying hole sizes might correspond to measurements of the human hand or finger, implying a use in tailoring, jewelry, or even a teaching tool for craftsmen. Others speculate that they were ritualistic or ceremonial, perhaps used in divination, fortune-telling, or magical practices, connecting material precision with spiritual or mystical function. A few researchers have explored astronomical interpretations. Could the dodecahedron, a regular polyhedron revered by the Pythagoreans and later known to Roman mathematicians, have had symbolic or observational significance? Perhaps the objects were used to calibrate shadows, track celestial events, or model the movement of planets, a fusion of practical observation and intellectual curiosity. Such ideas are intriguing, yet evidence remains speculative, and without textual confirmation, the dodecahedrons continue to straddle the line between the tangible and the theoretical. The geographical distribution of these objects adds another layer of intrigue. Found in diverse regions of the Roman Empire, from the Rhine and Danube frontiers to southern Gaul, they are rarely discovered alongside other artifacts, and their deposition is often solitary. Does this suggest that their function was personal, individual, or secretive? Were they the possession of a select class of artisans, priests, or soldiers? Or might they have been traded across the empire, carrying meaning that has been lost to time, a network of understanding that once connected distant communities? Even their manufacture speaks to sophistication. Bronze casting required skill and access to resources, suggesting that the dodecahedrons were valued and deliberately produced, rather than improvised. Their lightweight yet durable construction implies portability, perhaps for frequent use or ceremonial carrying. The variation in size, from as small as a walnut to as large as a fist, hints at a functional range, yet none of the proposed uses have been confirmed experimentally. When scholars attempt to replicate possible functions, from knitting to measuring or lighting, the results remain inconclusive, leaving the objects as compelling yet unresolved puzzles of Roman ingenuity. Speculative theories continue to flourish. Some suggest that the dodecahedrons may have been used in divination, casting shadows or rolling them to reveal messages from the gods. Others propose they were toys or educational tools designed to teach geometry or hand-eye coordination. A few fringe ideas even connect them to lost technological knowledge, devices whose purpose combined mechanics, symbolism, and practical function, now obscured by time. Each theory reflects our desire to impose understanding on an artifact that resists definitive interpretation, highlighting the challenge of reconstructing the lives and knowledge of those who created it. To encounter a Roman dodecahedron today is to hold a small piece of history that is both familiar and alien. The precision of its design speaks to human skill and intentionality, yet its meaning remains shrouded, challenging assumptions about the Roman world and its technological and cultural sophistication. It is a reminder that even civilizations we study extensively can leave behind objects that defy context, hinting at lost knowledge, forgotten practices, or ideas that were never recorded. The Roman dodecahedrons endure as silent witnesses to curiosity, craftsmanship, and enigma. They bridge mathematics, artistry, and mystery, inviting us to ponder the intersection of utility and symbolism in ancient life. As we examine their form, distribution, and potential purpose, one cannot help but ask, what knowledge or cultural practices do they conceal? Were they the tools of artisans, instruments of ritual, or markers of intellectual sophistication? And how many other objects, precise and enigmatic, lie scattered across the remnants of ancient empires, waiting to challenge our assumptions and ignite our imagination? The mystery remains, compelling, silent, and unresolved, a small but profound reminder that the past often speaks more through questions than answers. In the rolling plains near the ancient city of Xi'an, Shanxi province, an extraordinary sight emerges from beneath layers of earth, the Terracotta army, a silent legion of clay soldiers, chariots, and horses, arrayed as if eternally on guard. These figures, life-sized and meticulously detailed, form part of the mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang, China's first emperor, who died in 210 BCE. The sight of thousands of these warriors, each with individualized features, expressions, and armor, is both awe-inspiring and unsettling, a civilization frozen in clay, eternally vigilant in a subterranean world that has remained largely hidden for over 2 millennia. The scale of the project is staggering. Estimates suggest that more than 8,000 infantrymen, 670 cavalry horses, and 130 chariots once stood in formation, each figure sculpted by hand, painted, and positioned according to strict military hierarchy. Excavations reveal an extraordinary level of craftsmanship. The soldiers' faces are unique. Their poses convey readiness and motion, and their armaments, once real bronze weapons, attest to advanced metallurgy. Yet beneath this overwhelming display of imperial power, questions linger. How were these massive numbers of figures produced with such uniformity and precision? And what motivated Qin Shi Huang to invest such immense resources into a subterranean army that would never march in the mortal world? The Terracotta army is part of a much larger necropolis, itself a monumental enigma. Qin Shi Huang's tomb, still largely unexcavated, is rumored to contain rivers of mercury, jeweled ceilings, and landscapes of miniature palaces designed to replicate the empire above ancient historical texts, such as the records of the Grand Historian, describe intricate traps and booby traps intended to protect the emperor's final resting place. Modern surveys confirm elevated mercury levels in the tomb mound, hinting that the textual accounts may not be purely myth. Could this vast underground city contain secrets of Qin dynasty engineering, ritual practices, or even lost technologies? And how much remains concealed beneath the mound, shielded by centuries of sediment, stone, and the emperor's own meticulous planning? Despite decades of excavation, many aspects of the terracotta army remain perplexing. The figures are hollow, with clay sections assembled and then fired in kilns, yet their design exhibits remarkable durability. How did the artisans maintain consistency in production while giving each soldier a distinct visage? The painting on the figures, originally vivid and lifelike, has faded dramatically after exposure to air, leaving modern observers with muted tones. Yet chemical analyses reveal pigments of extraordinary sophistication. What materials and techniques did the Qin artisans use, and how did they innovate to create objects that were both realistic and enduring? The spatial arrangement of the army further deepens the mystery. Soldiers are organized into battalions, positioned to defend the tomb in formations reflecting contemporary military strategy. Yet there are variations. Some warriors appear to be mid-march, others at attention. Some hold weapons, others empty-handed. Were these artistic choices symbolic, meant to convey different ranks or roles in the afterlife? Or do they reflect actual battlefield formations, a meticulous recreation of a military hierarchy meant to serve the emperor beyond death? The precision and intent suggest a society capable of extraordinary coordination and organization, yet much about the cultural and spiritual motivations remains uncertain. Speculative interpretations abound. Some researchers argue that the terracotta army served not only as protection in the afterlife, but also as a demonstration of imperial power, an eternal statement of authority and reach. Others suggest a cosmological purpose. The tomb and its subterranean army may have been designed to reflect celestial order, aligning with the emperor's role as the Son of Heaven and a mediator between Earth and the cosmos. Could the terracotta army also encode messages or rituals meant to preserve dynastic continuity, convey spiritual authority, or impress future generations? If so, what insights might it offer into the worldview, religious beliefs, and social organization of early imperial China? The tomb itself, largely unexcavated, remains one of the greatest archaeological mysteries in the world. Modern technology, ground-penetrating radar, remote sensing, and chemical analysis has revealed complex internal structures, suggesting a labyrinthine network of chambers and passageways. Yet no full-scale excavation has taken place, largely due to concerns about preservation, looting, and the integrity of delicate materials. What remains hidden within these subterranean halls? Are there treasures, documents, or objects of profound historical significance that could reshape our understanding of the Qin dynasty? The terracotta army also prompts reflection on human ambition and mortality. Qin Shi Huang's desire to secure his authority beyond death led to an unprecedented undertaking, mobilizing labor, resources, and expertise on a scale scarcely imaginable. Yet the tomb and army also illustrate the impermanence of human achievement. The vibrant paints have faded, wooden elements decayed, and the emperor's empire itself would fragment shortly after his death. The interplay of grandeur, innovation, and impermanence invites contemplation. What motivates societies to leave such enduring marks on the world, even when time and nature conspire against them? Standing among the silent ranks of the terracotta soldiers today, one senses both mastery and mystery. Every face, stance, and detail is a window into a culture that valued precision, hierarchy, and the projection of power beyond life. Yet the unanswered questions, the tomb's full contents, the exact methods of construction, the symbolism encoded in arrangement and detail, remind us that even civilizations as monumental as Qin China leave secrets. What has yet to be discovered beneath the earth, and what will those discoveries reveal about one of history's most enigmatic emperors and the society he ruled? The tomb of the Terracotta Army endures as a monumental intersection of art, power, ritual, and enigma. It is a testament to human creativity and ambition, yet it also challenges us with its mysteries, encouraging inquiry, reflection, and imagination. As we contemplate the silent legion standing eternally in the underground, the mind naturally asks, what stories, beliefs, and knowledge remain hidden, waiting to emerge from the soil? And what can they teach us about the delicate balance between history, legend, and human ingenuity? Beneath the turquoise waters off the southernmost tip of Japan, near Yonaguni Island, lies a submerged formation that continues to confound scientists, divers, and enthusiasts alike. Known as the Yonaguni Monument, this sprawling underwater structure stretches hundreds of meters across the seabed, revealing sharp terraces, massive staircases, and flat platforms carved from solid sandstone. From above, it appears almost geometric in nature, a labyrinthine landscape of right angles, sloping plains, and what some describe as deliberate terraces, as if fashioned by human hands. The first divers to encounter it in the 1980s were struck by its scale and symmetry, noting formations that seemed too precise to be entirely natural. The monument's dimensions are formidable. Large, flat terraces rise like giant steps, some measuring tens of meters across, while angular walls and perpendicular edges suggest careful design. Erosion patterns, however, are equally striking, blending natural geological forces with shapes that seem astonishingly regular. As sunlight filters through the water, shadows accentuate the monument's edges, creating the illusion of deliberate platforms, roads, or ceremonial spaces. Yet the line between nature and human intervention remains contested. Is this a natural rock formation sculpted by millennia of tectonic shifts and sea currents, or is it the remnant of a lost civilization now hidden beneath the waves? Geologically, the Yonaguni Monument is composed of sedimentary sandstone, layered and fractured in ways consistent with natural formation. Mainstream science suggests that its terraces, ridges, and steps could result from a combination of erosion, jointing, and faulting, processes that carve sharp edges and angular forms over millennia. Yet anomalies persist. Some formations display right angles, flat surfaces, and parallel edges that appear statistically unlikely in purely natural sandstone structures. Could it be that human hands modified an already dramatic landscape, blending architecture with the raw forms of nature? If so, who were these builders, and what purpose did their constructions serve? Speculation has swirled around the monument since its discovery. Some researchers propose that it could represent the remnants of a prehistoric city, submerged during a rise in sea levels following the last ice age, roughly 10,000 years ago. If this is correct, the Yonaguni Monument predates known organized civilizations in East Asia, challenging conventional timelines of human development. Could it be the vestige of a forgotten culture, lost to rising seas, whose architectural knowledge remains entirely undocumented? Artifacts, pottery fragments, or tools have yet to be conclusively linked to the site, leaving the question tantalizingly unresolved. Divers and underwater archaeologists have cataloged staircases, terraces, and formations resembling roads or walls, as well as peculiar shapes that evoke sculptures or ceremonial platforms. Certain formations, including a massive monolithic feature dubbed the Pyramid, rise from the seabed with remarkable angularity, while adjoining terraces suggest an organized layout. Some speculate these could have been used for rituals, communal gatherings, or defensive purposes. Others suggest astronomical or calendrical functions, hypothesizing that the monument's orientation may correspond with solstices or celestial alignments. Yet, without concrete evidence, such interpretations remain conjectural, underscoring the difficulty of reading the past through shapes alone. Adding to the mystery is the interplay of natural and potential human forces. The region is geologically active, with tectonic shifts, earthquakes, and sediment deposition continually reshaping the seafloor. Could natural erosion have sculpted formations that merely resemble human design? Or did early humans adapt these natural features for their purposes, blending landscape and construction in ways that challenge modern expectations? The precision and scale of the edges suggest intent, yet proving deliberate craftsmanship underwater is extraordinarily difficult, particularly when organic or perishable evidence has been lost to the tides. The Yonaguni Monument also invites reflection on time, memory, and the impermanence of civilization. Rising sea levels at the end of the last ice age would have submerged any coastal settlements, erasing dwellings, tools, and infrastructure. If humans did modify these formations, what cultural, spiritual, or practical imperatives drove them? Could this be an early ceremonial site, a public space, or even a coastal fortress? And what does it tell us about the people who may have lived here, whose existence was so completely erased by geological and climatic forces that only stone remains to hint at their presence? Speculative theories have captivated imaginations worldwide. Some suggest that the monument represents evidence of a lost civilization with advanced engineering skills, predating known urban centers. Others propose connections to ancient myths of sunken lands, a Japanese Atlantis hidden beneath the waves. Scientific caution tempers such claims, but the allure is undeniable. The monument blurs the boundaries between human creativity and nature's sculpting hand, leaving observers suspended between skepticism and wonder. To witness the Yonaguni Monument is to confront a paradox. Its edges are unnervingly precise, yet unmistakably weathered. Its terraces suggest design, yet are carved from unyielding sandstone. Its scale is monumental, yet it sits silently beneath the ocean, largely inaccessible to casual observation. The monument challenges assumptions about the limits of prehistoric human capability and the resilience of memory encoded in stone. Each dive, each photograph, each survey raises more questions than answers, reminding us that history often leaves hints rather than explanations. As we explore the terraces, stairs, and monoliths of Yonaguni, we are reminded that the past is rarely straightforward. The monument may be natural, anthropogenic, or a combination of both, but its presence under the waves is undeniably compelling. What secrets lie buried in the sediment, perhaps lost forever to the ocean? Did humans truly leave their mark here, or are we reading patterns into the work of time itself? And if civilization did flourish along these shores before the seas rose, what else remains hidden beneath the waves, waiting for discovery? The Yonaguni Monument endures as an enigmatic fusion of stone, sea, and imagination, a place where nature's power and possible human ingenuity intertwine. It stands as a reminder that mysteries of our world are not always found in texts or artifacts alone, but in the shapes, shadows, and silence of the environment around us. As we gaze upon its terraces and angular plains, one is compelled to ask, what lies beyond the reach of our instruments, submerged in history, and how many more secrets does our planet still guard beneath its oceans? High in the rugged cliffs of the Bamiyan Valley in the heart of Afghanistan stand colossal niches carved into sandstone cliffs, once home to two monumental statues that gazed serenely over the valley below. These were the giant Buddhas of Bamiyan, sculpted directly into the rock face in the 6th century CE, standing at 55 and 38 meters tall, making them some of the largest standing Buddha statues ever constructed. Even centuries ago, travelers described their imposing presence, figures of immense scale, commanding attention from miles away, their serene faces exuding a quiet majesty that seemed to merge the divine and the earthly. Today, the niches remain empty, their monumental forms reduced to outlines and shadows, yet the sense of awe persists, a silent testimony to human ambition, artistry, and devotion. The construction of these statues remains a remarkable feat. Carved directly into the cliffs, they were originally covered with a mixture of stucco and paint, giving them vibrant life and detail. Scaffolding, pulleys, and intricate engineering must have been employed, yet no detailed records survive to explain exactly how such enormous forms were realized with the tools and techniques of the time. Who were the artisans capable of such precision? And how did they manage the logistical and structural challenges inherent in working at such scale on a sheer cliff face? These questions linger, as the historical record offers few answers beyond vague inscriptions and travelers' accounts. Bamiyan itself sits at a crossroads of civilizations, a point where trade routes, cultural currents, and spiritual practices converged. The statues likely served multiple purposes: devotional symbols for local Buddhist communities, markers of cultural and political influence, and perhaps even expressions of cosmological principles. Yet beyond their artistic and religious significance, the Buddhas evoke questions about their patrons and purpose. Why invest such monumental resources into figures that would be vulnerable to the elements, natural decay, and eventual human destruction? Was it sheer faith, a demonstration of wealth and power, or an attempt to create a legacy that would endure for millennia? The mystery deepens when considering the destruction of the statues in 2001. Though the Taliban claimed religious motivation, the loss of the Buddhas has paradoxically heightened global fascination with them. The empty niches now serve as silent canvases, their outlines etched against the cliff, inviting speculation about the original colors, details, and expressions. Modern technology, including 3D scanning and virtual reconstruction, has attempted to restore their presence digitally, yet these reconstructions can only hint at the experience of standing before the originals. What subtle details, what nuances of expression and symbolism were lost forever with the fall of the stucco and the erosion of paint? Archaeological studies have revealed a wealth of surrounding structures, monastic caves, chapels, and frescoes that once complemented the statues. These ancillary features suggest a complex cultural and religious ecosystem, one where the Buddhas acted as focal points for ritual, meditation, and community gathering. Yet much of this evidence has been obscured by time, looting, and environmental decay. Can we ever truly reconstruct the full scope of life and devotion that revolved around these monumental figures? Or are we left with only fragments of a once vibrant spiritual landscape? Speculative interpretations extend beyond their physical and religious context. Some scholars ponder whether the scale and design of the Buddhas reflected astronomical or cosmological principles, aligning with celestial events or serving as spiritual guides along pilgrimage routes. Others suggest that their placement, carved into the cliffs and overlooking the valley, may have been symbolic, representing the guardianship of sacred space or the interweaving of human, natural, and divine orders. Such theories remain largely unprovable, yet they underscore the depth of intention and thought that likely informed the Buddha's creation. The human element of Bamiyan adds further poignancy. The statues were commissioned during a period of vibrant cultural exchange, when Buddhist, Persian, and Central Asian influences mingled. Artisans, pilgrims, and rulers all contributed to a cultural milieu that sought to articulate faith through monumental architecture. The figures themselves, while frozen in stone, encapsulate the aspirations, beliefs, and skills of an entire civilization. What drove these people to invest such time, labor, and artistry into figures that were simultaneously fragile and eternal? And how did their cultural and spiritual worldview shape the design and execution of the statues in ways that we can only glimpse today? The emptiness of the niches is a profound reminder of impermanence, of the fragility of human creations against the forces of politics, ideology, and time. Yet it also speaks to resilience. The very outlines of the Buddhas, etched into cliffs and preserved in memory, continue to inspire awe and curiosity. Their destruction has not erased their impact. Instead, it has amplified questions about human ingenuity, devotion, and the vulnerability of cultural heritage. What was it about these figures that captured the imagination of people across centuries? And what do they tell us about humanity's desire to create works that transcend mortality? Standing in the valley today, one cannot help but feel the weight of history and mystery intertwined. The colossal forms, though absent in substance, remain present in essence, challenging us to imagine the original sculptures, the artisans who created them, and the people who revered them. What other secrets of the Bamiyan Valley have yet to be unearthed beneath the surrounding cliffs? What stories, beliefs, and techniques were encoded in the Buddhas themselves, now obscured by time and tragedy? The giant Buddha of Bamiyan endures as a silent testament to human ambition, creativity, and the elusive nature of history. Its enormity, artistry, and eventual destruction all serve to remind us that some of the world's greatest mysteries are not only about what we can see, but also about what we have lost, forgotten, or yet to rediscover. As we contemplate the towering cliffs and the empty niches, the mind naturally asks, what else lies hidden in this valley, waiting to reveal its secrets to those willing to look, listen, and imagine across the centuries?